All right, welcome out to another episode of the PC podcast. I've got the whole crew, and we got two guests, and this is the first time that we're going to do this on the Pirates Cove podcast. We've got two alumni, two guys that played football for the Rockport-Fulton Pirates back. We're going to talk about the 1992 season. They were seniors. We were a playoff team, and just wanted to bring them on. It's something that we have been talking about that we were going to start doing, and they're the first on the list. I'll introduce them here in just a minute as we're going to be talking football with our guest. And then we're also going to later on be talking about the 2021 Rockport-Fulton Pirate football season. It's just around the corner. We got a scrimmage coming up this Friday, and within 2 weeks, or so, we'll be playing our first game at home against the Aransas Pass Panthers. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the other teams that'll be in our district. The crew will be talking and giving their opinion and their thoughts on the other teams that the Pirates, the Rockport Pirates, will be playing this year. And then we'll be making our predictions early on in the season as to what four teams we think from our district will be making the playoffs. And then before the podcast ends, we'll be talking a little bit of Rockport-Fulton Lady Pirates volleyball. They had their first game last night, and of course they take the win. They beat London 3-1. Next Wednesday, we will have two of our Rockport-Fulton Lady Pirates volleyball players join us on the podcast. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But for tonight, we'll be talking football. And so before I introduce my guest, I'll be introducing my crew. You guys know them. We've got Big T, Tony Pena. How you doing, Tony?
Good.
Ready to talk some football?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then, of course, we've got the coach, Steve Cantu. How you doing, Coach?
Blessed. Happy to be here. Ready to talk about some 90s football, baby.
Yes, sir. And, of course, we got the Z-Man doing good 3 times, Mr. Johnny Zavala. How you doing, sir?
Doing good.
All right. And we've got two guests. Like I said, they are Rockport-Fulton Pirate alumni. They graduated back in 1993, but they were seniors during the 1992 football season. As I said, I watched that season. They played a big part on that team. And I'll introduce them. They're the Walker twins. A lot of people will know them around Rockport. Robbie Walker. Robbie, how you doing?
Doing great, living the dream. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for spending some time with us here on the Cove. And then, of course, his brother, Rick Walker. Ricky, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Love talking football. So excited.
Absolutely. And like I said, I wanted to go back to your 1992 season. You guys were really good. We were a powerhouse. We were destined to go far. Didn't go that way for many reasons. So kind of going to go back, down memory lane with you guys and see what you guys remember about that season. But I'm going to pass it over to one of the guys here. He's got some questions for you guys. I'm going to pass it over to the coach and let him start the questions.
All right. Hey, guys, first off, let me say welcome to the podcast. I'm glad you guys could join us today on this forum. I think this is awesome. I'm an import to Rockport. I moved here 14 years ago, fell in love with the town, and could only imagine what it felt like to have grown up here, to go to school here. I'm from Houston. It gets just, everything kind of gets lost in the shuffle up there. And then down here, it just seems like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of jealous, and all those memories you guys must have of playing ball here, living here, growing up here. That's awesome. So, my question is going to start off real simple, and real easy. I'll start off with, is it Rob?
Yes.
I'll start off with Rob. Rob, what do you remember about two-a-days, and how tough were they compared to now? I don't know if you know our two-a-days now. I'll fill you in just a little bit. We're out there in a helmet and shorts, all the time. So how does that compare to you guys, your two-a-days?
Yeah, I I would say somewhat similar. I think it may be a little hotter now, but I think there's some restrictions they have from a
Yeah.
heat standpoint that we didn't have. Water breaks weren't as prevalent probably in '92 as they are now, and you had to earn them. But overall,
Yeah.
I think we had a great group of guys committed to success. I remember Coach Coleman telling us, who was our defensive coordinator, one of the best coaches I've ever been around. He had a message of confidence that was, hey, every time in the off season and even in two-a-days, when you see guys from Aransas and Taft and Sinton and Ingleside, you tell them how good we're going to be. And if you tell them enough times, sooner or later, they're going to believe it. And we were a good football team. And so we had a lot of confidence going into that. Everyone was working hard, great leadership. And it was an exciting time to be a Pirate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it seems like what times of the days were they? Did you guys actually go out in the mornings, or did y'all what time did y'all start your 2 days? How did that go?
If I remember right, we would arrive at 7. I think we were on the field not long after that, 7:30, I think, and then we'd go for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. We'd take a good break, and then we'd come back in the evening and work through. I think we'd start at 5 and go to 7 or 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah, that had to be tough, man. I mean, it's hot. It's hot out there, and to go out there and do the things you guys did, I mean, that's awesome. I must admit, I never played organized sports as a kid, and I love coaching it. So, I can't figure myself out sometimes, but I never played organized, and I just admire the guts that it takes to get out there and day after day for those amounts of hours. I go out there now. I don't miss practices. I go out there every day and I watch the guys practice and just sit there in awe of how long those guys can go out there. And they're out there for a long time. So that's something great, man.
Can I piggyback on something? So
yeah.
I think what looking back on it, it was very, very rough. I definitely think it's hotter today, but it was physical. We went twice a day. We were in pads most of the time. And I think in a lot of ways it was designed to weed some folks out, weed some people out that probably didn't, weren't sure about being out there, or, weren't confident about being out there. You had to decide that you really wanted to play ball. And go through that if you were going to endure 2 days in the '90s in Rockport. So
there you go. So do you guys ever see any of your old teammates? Do you guys hang out, or do you guys correspond through Facebook or anything like that?
yeah, absolutely. Some of them we're still really close to, like Peter Eichstead, somebody that we're real close to. We talk to on a regular basis. And I say regular basis, I bet I hear or talk to Peter 2 to 3 times a week, right? And Peter lives in the Tomball area, and I'm in Rockport, and Rob there is in the Atlanta, Alpharetta, Georgia area. So, it's a tight-knit group. I do sports cards as kind of a hobby on the side. And about 4 months ago, I did a card show in Dallas. And we were at the show in Dallas, and one of the dealers was talking, and he's like, "Oh, you're from Rockport?" and asking me if I know Dat. Of course, that's the main question you get, is if you know Dat whenever you're, you tell somebody you're from Rockport and you grew up there in the '90s. And I'm like, "Yeah, And I don't think he really believed me. He's like, "Well, I got his number right here. I'll text him. Who am I going to tell him I saw?" And I said, "Tell him the Walker boys, no problem." And he fired right back, "Yeah, hey, is it Ricky or is it Robbie?" And next thing you know, Dat is actually up at the card show, hanging out, talking with me, catching up. And it was great to see him. Just like we had, missed a beat since high school. So a lot of the guys, great group. I haven't seen Daniel in quite a while. Last time we saw Daniel was at our high school reunion. That was what, the 30-year, Rob?
No, 25.
25.
We haven't got 30 yet.
Yeah, we're about to have 30. And so at the 25-year reunion, he came. We hadn't seen or talked to him in quite some time, but it was great to catch up. Chad Stutzman was there. Quite a few of the guys that were seniors from then. So Yeah.
We've seen Brett Phillips, and we've seen every time. So Rick recently moved back to Rockport. Super excited for him for that. Being here, traveling home to visit family, and getting to see friends, you run into a lot of guys, and then obviously Facebook and social media helps with staying connected. But it was such an amazing group of guys from the standpoint of not just our senior year, but the group that Johnny was in right behind us, and the combination of those two and the community around us. And we'll always be connected to those guys. We'll always have a connection and a love for one another that will last. Appreciation for what we went through together as teammates. And I think it shaped who a lot of us are, or laid the foundation for a lot of great things. I've had several people say, wow, there's a lot of successful people that came out of that group. And no doubt, and not just successful financially, but successful in how they lead and raise their family. And a lot of that was instilled right there with those coaches.
Yeah, there's a lot of really solid, what I would call good men that have come from that group that we got to play ball with.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, guys. Well, I'm gonna pass you on, and I'm gonna send an apology first off to Tony. I know that I accidentally fell into that question, Tony, and I apologize. But I'll pass it off to Gabriel. Gabriel.
Tony, do you have anything now, or do you want to still wait till later on?
Well, I just wanted to thank the guys for talking about that, and like I was talking about before we went on, we have a lot of the boys that are watching the podcast on a regular basis, and I think it's real important that they see how those bonds they build on the field and how they become young men on the field, how it transcends to being an adult. And I think it's real important that y'all talked about that. And I know when they leave that field, some of them, that maybe haven't been on the team a long time, they go different directions, but when you're on that field, you're fighting for each other. And there's just a group of men that you're always going to know, and you're always going to remember and make memories with. And that's why we're talking about this right now, talking about y'all senior season and this memories you'll always remember. I talked to my boy about that, and I coached some of the boys that are on that team right now, and it's I just want them to know that we got two alumni here talking about it. They lived it, they lived the life, and you're here now, and I just want to thank y'all for talking about it. But Steve got my question. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back to Gabriel, but just thank y'all for talking about that.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, I'm going to leave your teammate for the end, and let you guys talk about whatever you want to. But hey, Rick, did you guys win district in '92? We are district champs.
We ended up tying. We were co-district champs with Sinton because we actually tied them. I believe is that did I remember that? Remember that?
No, we were district champs.
Because they lost, they tied against Taft.
That's right, and we
They
beat Taft. Yes, okay, yeah. That's the way it should have been. So yes, we were district champs. What's crazy about that year is we were district champs in football, baseball, and basketball.
Wow.
No, we were district runner-up in baseball, and I was the reason why. So
that's a whole nother story. I could have sworn we won district in all three. Either way, we went to the playoffs and went fairly deep in all three sports.
Yeah, the football was 2 years, two rounds. Basketball was 4 rounds, and so was the baseball team.
That's right. That's right.
So good times. Good times.
Hey, and the reason I was asking is because in '92 we were still going toe to toe with Sinton. In 2021. We're still going toe to toe with Sinton, and that's still our rival. That's still the team. The last couple of years we've got the best of them. Last year they got the best of us. So we'll see what happens this year. Hey, I do got a question for the both of you. I'm going to go to Rob first. Who was your toughest opponent, Rob, in '92?
So it comes down to 3 teams, and I'll zero in on one, but Taft, Sinton, and Port Isabel were probably the 3 toughest for different reasons. But the Sinton game stands out the most because of a fantastic goal line stand that Johnny was a key part of, by the way. made a couple of key tackles on, that we stopped them as they were driving, that ultimately led to a 7-7 tie. I think that goal line stand was right before the halftime. We were up 7-0. We had a long drive. I think it was the second series of the game, went down, scored a touchdown. We were short players. I was injured. Rick was injured. We had several starters out, and the guys right behind us, and it just shows you the depth that we had of the football team. You know, they all stepped up, played fantastic football around it. Now, when I mentioned Taft was an amazing comeback that we'll have to talk more about. It was an unbelievable game. We were down 22-7 and came back to win 26-22. That just was an unbelievable football game. But the Sinton game, we also have to talk about, see if Johnny remembers this. I know Rick does. Coach Mike Coleman gave a halftime speech that probably had every member of that football team, the coaching staff, the training staff, ready to run through a brick wall. And prior to that game, or leading up to that game, they were the year before they beat us. What was it? 20. They beat us by 22 points, and we did 22 push-ups for every point, every off-season practice, every football practice at the end of every one to add up, because we knew who we wanted to beat. We wanted to beat Sinton. And so we finished that game in a tie, and we won district. So we're really happy, especially, you know, building a lot of confidence, knowing the depth that we have. We come into the locker room after the game, and Mike Coleman, Coach Coleman, gets us up. He says, guys, congratulations on the district championship. You guys did a great job. I take full responsibility, though, for the tie. And everyone's like, what are you talking about, Coach? He goes, guys, we did 22 push-ups after every practice. That's just enough to tie. If we'd have done 23, we'd have won that football game.
Oh, shit.
Hey,
Great story.
Before I go to Rick and Johnny and ask them this question, I remember that tap game. Please talk and break that tap game down, because that's one of the best games. I was in the stands, and I know exactly what happened. Please talk about that game.
Yeah, so that we came out sluggish. We also turned the ball over early, and they jumped on us. They were a really good football team, talented, very physical, pretty disciplined, and they broke off a big play, long touchdown, and they got up 22-7. And so we go into halftime. There's no panic. In fact, the coaches don't even come in yelling at us. Captains come in, they start talking to, you know, each of the position groups, and then collectively they talk. Excuse me.
Chad Stutzman didn't collectively talk that.
Well, I was about to go there. The coaches are watching this. Then they go into the locker room, and Chad Stutzman, who was all district defensive end, all district offensive tackle, just really good football player, one of our key leaders. He lit into everybody, got us fired up, got us ready to go. And so we kick off to them in the second half, and they get the ball and they drive it right down. And you know, we're like, what is going on? And they get, I think it was on like the 3-yard line. They're going in. I don't know who caused it, but there was a fumble.
Caused it.
That Win caused it. There was a fumble, and Kong Win picks it up and takes it 95 or 97 yards back for a touchdown. Yep. And when he takes that back, the place goes nuts. Like Pirates Stadium was electric. I know it's not very big, but like just you could tell with that play, here we come, and we turned it on. And I'll never forget, we get the ball in the fourth quarter. We're still behind. We run a veer option play with Ric at quarterback, and he hadn't run much. He read it really well as an option quarterback, and a lot of times he'd take the hit and pitch it out. Well, this time he runs left on the option, and he fakes the pitch, looks it away, turns it up, and he takes off and he breaks free. And he's running, you know, as fast as he can. And he's not the fastest guy, but you know, he turned on what he could. And they had a guy who was a all-state defensive end, and then their safety out there chasing after. They both miss. Well, the defensive end misses. And then the safety's coming at him. And the angle he takes, it's almost going to be head on. And Ric does this spin move, and the guy whiffs. And he makes the turn, and he gets almost to the goal line. He gets tackled at the 1 yard line by the other defensive end, and who was yelling expletives at him. But anyway, he gets up, and the Mosquito Man had just come by. I think, Ric, if I'm missing this, let me know. But the Mosquito Man had come by. He jumps up, he's breathing hard, and that stuff comes right in his face, burning his eyes. He can't breathe. Welcome to Rockport, right? But we go in on the next play with the Daniel touchdown, and from there we never look back. All the momentum with us, and we won. That game, I think, clinched a playoff spot, and the next week was Sinton for the district championship. So amazing football game.
I just want to say, I want Daniel, that win, I think blitz. They were like at the 4, if I remember correctly, 5. I remember they were already leading, and they had come out. They scored that touchdown and we're done. And I remember, that win used to come around. I remember, and with that right arm, man, he would just hit that ball, man, and it'd pop up loose. And he went in there, and they were gonna hand it off, and he just caused a commotion back there, and the ball just fell. And Kong picked it up, and there we go. And that just changed the whole momentum of the game. That was one of the best games in the history of Rockport, man. That was just a great game. I was at stand. It was great to see. Hey, Ric, what do you remember about that game? And who was your toughest opponent? Was it Sinton or was it somebody else?
I'll cover that. It's kind of a push, but as far as that game goes, I would say, I remember Taft being probably the most physical team we played, both my junior and senior year. They weren't as talented as Sinton, but they were extremely physical. That's what they got by on. And I think the only team in the district that matched them physically was Rockport. So that's what made those games fun. And that game was probably the most fun I had. Actually, my senior year, that was the most fun game. As I got to do a lot of things that ended up being a big contribution in that game, and that felt good. The thing I remember most, though, is Kong Nguyen picking that ball up and getting about, 40 yards down the field with it all by himself, and him having to kick that chin up and that head back because he was already out of gas, and just, kind of jogging or coasting the rest of the way in because he was tired. But the emotion and the energy from that game, from way we started to the way we finished was just next level. And I think it really cemented us as, a team that was going to make a deep run, but it cemented us as teammates, right? We could count on each other. We found out how resilient we are. We took the big old punch to the face that Taft gave us, and we got back up and we kicked their ass, right? And that's important, right? You're going to come across teams that are going to hit you in the mouth, and that's where you got to figure out who you are and what you're going to do. And we did. And I got to say, I'm proud of the way my teammates responded and what they did. And it made it a lot of fun, right? As far as the run that Rob mentioned, that's probably the biggest highlight of my high school career offensively. I didn't get to do much offensively because I just wasn't that talented offensively, but I had fun, and I got the opportunity where you're playing with Daniel Vasquez behind you, and the guy was an incredible athlete. He doesn't get near the kudos and recognition that I think he deserves. I mean, Dat got to steal a lot of that thunder because Dat's amazing in his own right, but Daniel Vasquez is, unbelievable talent. And so, of course, everybody in the house knew that Daniel would get the ball, whoever we were playing, and he still got his yards and his touchdowns and led us in a lot of ways. So I got a ton of respect for that guy. But on that one particular play, obviously they're keen on him. So I just whipped that ball out there with my left hand, and everybody and their dog just went right past me. And I'm like, well, I gotta keep it. So tucked it under, and I wasn't very fast, but I got down the sideline as quickly as I could. And Verdell Murphy was the safety for Taft. And I had honestly cheap shotted him early on an option play at outside backer where he came in and he didn't get the pitch, and he was looking for the pitch. Of course, I didn't know that he didn't get the pitch, and my job was to take out the pitch man. Johnny can attest to that during option for an outside backer, your responsibility is to take out the pitch man. Well, Verdell's looking back for the ball and in the backfield, and I mean, I would always try to do my best to get across the line of scrimmage once I had a run read. And once I came across that line of scrimmage, I planted Verdell into the ground. And, you know, Verdell was out for probably 5 or 6 plays before he ever came back, knocked the wind out of him, whatever. And so, you know, all this had happened and I knew he remembered it. And I had it into my mind that as he's coming across and I'm running down the sideline with the football at safety, that he's going to try to get me back. He's going to try to knock the hell out of me, right? He's going to try to lower the boom. And he did, and he put that head down. And when he did, I just took my hand and I smacked him and spun around, and he just cleared me. And I kept going. I'm like, oh, I'm still going. And so I kept going. And I don't know, you know, if you ever scored a touchdown, there's this weird feeling about scoring a touchdown is you have this feeling like you're being sucked into the end zone. If anybody ever asks you about when you score a touchdown, for whatever reason, there's this feeling that this vacuum that you're being sucked into the end zone, a tractor beam almost. And I didn't have that feeling, and I didn't score. I got tackled at the 1 yard line. And as I got up, Eric Caruth, who was a big guard for us, huge guy, great guy, went on to play offensive line at Texas Tech, comes and he lifts me up in the air. Well, as I got up, of course, I'm running hard and I'm taking big breaths. And I sucked in a ton of mosquito spray from the mosquito man, and I'm sitting there choking, and he's all trying to celebrate, lifting me up. I'm like, put me down. I can't breathe. That's what I remember about that play.
Wow.
Wow.
To answer your question, though, who the toughest team was, Sinton had the best players. Rob Thomas, Dale House, Ross Partlow, Ruben Trigo. You know, I can go through the roster. I still remember it so vividly. Both Rob and I do. That's one thing, you know, looking back on that, I remember plays. I remember all of that stuff in such a fine detail that's the impact that time had on us, I think, is next level, right? You know, the experience was outstanding. The coaching was outstanding. The friendship and the bond of the teammates was outstanding. You know, I thought everybody kind of got to experience that and have the same feelings that what Rob and I got to have. And it's just not the case. And so, you know, if you're talking to some of these younger Pirates who might be watching this, you know, my advice to them, you know, not that you're asking me, but it would be to capture that moment, own it, be in it, enjoy it, do everything you can, sell out, put every bit of your heart and soul into it for your teammates, and they'll do the same for you. And I guarantee you, your experience, you'll look back on it and it will be as fond as what my brother and I got to have.
No doubt.
It was great having you.
awesome.
Johnny, anything you want to add?
Dude, you know, you go back and forth between this Taft and Sinton game. You know, I didn't really participate in that Taft game, so I can't say that that was my best game that I ever played in.
You got my snaps in the Sinton game. It's Chad Stutzman. Chad Stutzman in the first practice of that week at tackle, I was playing quarterback, and one of the few passing plays we were trying to run in practice, I roll out in practice, and Stutz falls down and twists my knee. I sprained my knee, and I didn't get the snaps. They sent me out. They're like, "Hey, we're already made the playoffs. You're gonna sit out, let that knee recover." And you know, it killed me not to play against Sinton. But I got to tell you, Johnny Zavala played like a monster against Sinton. You know, I don't know if he's gotten enough credit for that. You know, here we are almost 30 years later, but you know, at outside linebacker, I couldn't have done a better job than Johnny did that night. And I tell you right now, nobody was as big a fan of Johnny Zavala as I was that night on the sidelines. And I was dying to get in the game. Matter of fact, I almost snuck in, and Coach Pyson grabbed a hold of my jersey and he's like, "Hey, did you send?" You know, ask Coach Miller if they had sent me in, and I'm like, and he's like, "No, you get back on the sideline." But that Sinton game was intense, even from watching it. And I commend you, and I thank you to this day, Johnny, because you played like a grown man that night. So
Right, thanks.
yeah,
it was my first shot, you know, playing varsity, getting that start. You know, it was like the hype of it, the sold out stadium, the putting the band and the cheerleader, the pep squad and everybody on the track, you know, on both sides of the stadium, not just one, you know, and just looking around the entire stadium, around the whole fence. It was standing room only, you know, so I've never seen that stadium, even though they're smaller stands, I've never seen the stadium packed like that with people standing completely around the whole oval of the fence, you know. So pregame, you know, morning walks, that was the first game that our field has ever been marked yard by yard, by the way.
That's
Yep.
It
right.
was that sitting game.
I was just about to, and they
That
painted
was
the
the
end
first
zone.
time in the history of our school
Yeah,
that game was marked yard by yard. And when they spelled out the Pirates on both end zones.
that's right. That's right.
And that was big time then, it's obviously the game's changed quite a bit. It was more smash mouth back in the 90s. We lined up and we're running at you and you're running at us, and who's gonna be tougher. It was a lot of a tough
It was
mean
cold. It was
Yes,
cold.
Yes, it was cold that night. It was a cold night.
Very, very cold.
Hey,
But-
hey, I got a quick story on Johnny real quick that I thought you were going to bring up. And you may have before, but we played Ingleside that year, and they had a running back named Snyder who had run all over us the year before, and he talked a whole bunch of smack. He'd come over, play basketball in our gym. So we start the game with them, and it's a runaway from jump. And he's about 3 plays in, I think, on his third carry. He's got negative yards. His fourth carry, he ends up cutting his hand on Jared Camille's helmet, I think, who was a heck of a football player as well, by the way. And he ends up getting stitches and has to go out of the game. And they put in their other back. What was his name, Johnny? Ingleside, 22.
Bubba Jackson? No?
No.
Bubba's later on.
Yeah, so I can't remember the kid's name. It'll come to me in a minute. But he comes running through, and Johnny's at inside backer and comes across and hits him right in the face mask to face mask, and it comes up and blows the guy's nose up. Like broke his nose exploded, whatever. I don't know if you remember that, Johnny. But
I don't know how you remember.
yeah, I just, and made a fantastic tackle, fantastic play, got everybody hyped. And we ended up beating those guys 48-2. They blocked an extra point and took it back for the 2-point conversion.
To lose the shutout, yep.
Yeah, and Vasquez ran 15 times for 296 yards and about 6 touchdowns. Yeah. So anyway, but Johnny was a beast that night too.
Now that second game, I loved it. They got inside our 23 times, and
Yep.
I was the new guy, and they just kept coming at me. And I brought this up last year in our podcast. It had to do with our Sitton was doing the same thing with our power sweeps, and our outside linebackers was just sitting there waiting, and that's something that I was trying to throw out there, like, these guys are just sitting waiting, and I was a small guy facing all these linemen, and the linemen, the pulling, the fullback, the quarterback leading for the tailback, so what other way, you can't just go around it, just can't wait on it. So I just like kamikaze my own self.
Yeah.
I went for the lineman's knees, and there was, it was just just like a bowling pin, just make I didn't really make the big plays. I made it enough to where, like, I make a big commotion where the guy had to loop around to enough to where, like, that could, like, chase him down from the back, from the backside. And, that's basically how I was, basically taught, was just, just make a big commotion.
Well,
and that's one thing I'm not seeing with the guys nowadays. It's like, we're waiting on the block, we're taking on the block, standing up, or just trying to go around everybody. I'm like, you just throw yourself in there.
Their defensive concepts are different than what we played with. I mean, at that outside backer spot, Johnny, it was out contained. Your whole responsibility was contain, push everything inside, and then you've got that linebacker, old Dat Wynn, sitting in the middle that's there to clean up or finish everything if one of the D linemen doesn't get there. So it was that split 6 defense we would run, would just funnel everything, try to push it back to the middle, and Dat would clean it up if you didn't make the play. And yeah, you're right. And you did take on those linemen big time. I mean, that's physical and tough, man. You're a tough football player, Johnny.
I love that position, dude. I'm thankful. Thank you for letting me run it a little bit.
Hey, I got another question for you. I'll start off with Rob. Your most memorable play of that 92 season. Rob, I'll go to you first.
Ooh, so I had a great game against Port Isabel. I had 2 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, and about 12 tackles. And I made a play before half. They ran a there was a lot of wing tee football in those days, and similar to what Rockport run or has run previously. Here,
Nasty
most
slot.
recently, yeah, the nasty slot as we called it, and they ran that and they pitched it to their wing back, and Mark White was playing opposite corner, and he was coming up for the sweep, and the guy raised up and he threw the ball, and before he could get to the end zone, I ran up and made a tackle, and I thought, wow, hey, saved a touchdown. We go into halftime. Didn't think about the penetration, but my most memorable play, sadly, I hate to go to this, but I'm going to. They had Port Isabel's quarterback's left-handed, very athletic, mobile. His name is Kevin LeBou, and they had a wide receiver I was covering in cover 3, number 34, named Kevin Earl, and I was playing opposite corner of what I typically was because I was following him, and he went deep, and I'm right in him, and I picked him off twice before, and I'm right on him this time, and as I turn to find the ball, I see it come behind my head and right into his arms, and we go right into the end zone as I tackle him, and he scored a touchdown. So devastating play, obviously important at a big time, and so that one sticks in my head. So sadly, the bad ones more than the good ones. But if I'm looking at a good play or a great play, I would say I made 2 picks against Aransas in a big game against a quarterback that had talked a lot of smack in the offseason, Audie Reed. I'm sure Johnny remembers him, Rick remembers him. And they had a receiver named Howard Emerson who was about 6'5" that they kept trying to throw the ball to. And I made 2 picks on him in that game that I think really stand out for me this season.
And that's awesome. Rick?
Memorable play. I'm similar to my brother in that it's the most memorable is actually a negative play, and it's actually my final offensive play against Port Isabel, and it's a fumble. We had clock was ticking. We'd already turned the ball over 7 times, and we were trying to make it back, and we were out of timeouts. And we called a sweep play because we ran the lead, the sweep, and the counter, and then occasionally some option. And if you could stop it, you could beat us, and if you couldn't, we're going to whip you. And we call a sweep play, come up to the line, run the play, and I turned to pitch the sweep, and Daniel's not there. He went the wrong direction. And I'm like, instead of pitching it, I tuck the ball, and I've got the edge, and I start running on the edge around the right side, and I'm trying to get out of bounds. And as I'm running to get out of bounds, there's cornerback comes up to cut it off, and so I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to tuck it under and spike the ball to stop the clock after the first down because I'm getting the first down. And as I do, I kind of cut back, and the ball gets a little bit free from me as I make my juke. And from behind, I got hit, and the ball falls out, and they recover it. And that's the ball game. They ran the clock out at the end of it. So that's my most memorable play because it sticks and still hurts my heart to this day. That's the only time I actually lost a fumble in my career, which is frustrating as hell. But as far as memorable great plays, the run's up there, but the most memorable play for me that year was actually playing Corpus Christi Flower Bluff at Flower Bluff. Obviously they were a level ahead of us. We were 3A and they were still 4A, but we went in there and we beat them. And similarly, we ran a sweep to Daniel up to the right side, 48 sweep. I tossed the sweep to Daniel, and I carried out my fake because we had a bootleg off of some of those plays. So I pitched it and carried out my fake. And I did what you're not supposed to do when you carried a fake. I looked back to see the play because, Daniel was super exciting, and I wanted to see what Daniel was going to do when Daniel does what he would do. And I looked back, and he's cutting back. He's stopped, and all the flow went that way. So he puts his foot in the ground. And he starts to come back behind the line of scrimmage. So I peel back, and Flower Bluff had some good linebackers, and they had a guy by the name of Ron Volmering, who was the heir apparent to a guy named Paul Lasowski that they had, who was an absolute stud all-state linebacker for Flower Bluff. And Volmering ended up being all-state as well. And so Volmering breaks through, and he's chasing Daniel. And I peel back behind the line of scrimmage, and he's looking at Daniel, and then he sees me, and he thinks, I'm just going to run this little guy over. and I dropped down and I launched into his chin, and I got him up off the ground, both feet. And the back of his head was the first thing that hit the ground, and it was the most textbook beautiful hit of probably my career. And I was so hyped because I was more of a defensive player anyway, and of course, Daniel carries it on out, and instead of it going for like a long touchdown, it went for like a 2-yard gain, and he tripped and fumbled the ball out of bounds. But I just remember the collision that was with that play.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Johnny?
Well, mine wasn't the 92 season. Mine was the 93 season. It really wasn't irrelevant touchdown, but it was against Quirrell here at home. I was playing outside linebacker, and they had a great quarterback named Clint Finley. He ran just a regular rollout to my side. He put a juke move on me, so I dove there. He reversed his field to the other side, and I got back up and tried to do a little pursuit angle, and I completely missed him again running down the sideline. Just juked me twice on one play. I think it was not that win. It was Kong Win that actually our quarterback then pushed him out of bounds like at the 1-yard line. So the next ensuing play, they run just a lead up the middle. And, I was playing outside linebacker. I kind of came across the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden I see that ball pop out. So I catching the midair, and I just land backwards onto the pile. And there's a guy, our linebacker then named what was his name? Not that. It was, oh my God, I can't remember his name. Anyways, he grabbed my jersey, picked me up, and just pushed me. And I'm running, I'm like in the 50-yard line. And I'm like, I don't hear no whistle and stuff like that, and I heard stories after a while. It was like I was past the 50-yard line before anybody knew where the ball was. The referees were digging underneath a pile looking for the ball. And so the whole way, being Quirrell, they have a lot of fast guys. You got to remember, I missed the quarterback twice on the previous play. So I was stuck in there after like 20 yards of rushing downfield. I'm looking at shadows. And back then, Pirates Stadium didn't have the greatest lights. So every shadow I would see, look down, I was thinking that somebody was completely behind me. So I was trying my hardest to push across. So I turn around. I just made myself hit the goalpost. I'll turn around. I see the referees all looking back there. And I remember coming back to Coach Weiss, and I said, they better not fucking take away that touchdown from me, because, man, I'm getting myself thrown out of this game. But, it was irrelevant. That was the only touchdown against Quirrell. We didn't really lose that many games. I think we lost against Quirrell my junior and senior year. And I think we only had an extra loss in my senior in the playoffs too. So my junior and senior, we basically just lost 3 games. Lost 3 games and tied 2, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. Clint Finley was that quarterback. He went to Nebraska, man. That dude was a stud, Johnny.
Yeah. I missed him a couple times. Yeah. That was somebody I could not keep inside. But yeah, it was not irrelevant, but it still stands as a school record, a 99-yard fumble return. So the longest touchdown in our school history.
Awesome.
There you go.
Hey, while you guys are on that topic of school records, Johnny, that's awesome, 99 yards. Do either one of you other guys y'all own, or do you know if you guys' records are still up, or do you guys keep up with that stuff?
Daniel's records may be up there.
Yeah, 3. I think it's been passed several times over since the 90s, but he did set the state record that year, I believe, for yards against Jordanton.
396 or 395.
391 on 22 carries.
There you go. And
Wow.
Coach Pison was upset afterwards because had he known he was so close to 400 yards, he would have given him.
Well, they announced it over the intercom. They said Daniel Bosses has broke the record. He just surpassed the 400-yard mark. So when they announced it, Coach Pison pulled him out pretty much.
Yeah.
What's crazy about that game, I'll never forget. I didn't start at quarterback. I just started at outside linebacker for that playoff game. And Mark White was in there, and Jordanton actually gave us a game to start. They were playing pretty tough early on. And Dr. Hahn, Stan Hahn, I don't know if you guys know Dr. Hahn or not. but he was the
Yeah.
team doctor at the time. And we're on the sidelines, and he'd known my grandfather a lot. They'd fished a lot, and so I'd see him come by my grandparents' house occasionally. We would talk, and he comes up to me, he puts his arm around me, and coach tells me, "Hey, you're going in at quarterback." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm trying to warm up. I'm trying to get this little guy, Rob Walker, to warm up with me on the sidelines, right? And it's intense. I was an intense little turd back in high school, and so we're on the sidelines trying to warm up, and Dr. Hahn comes over. He goes, "Yeah, make sure you get warmed up, because this is probably going to be your last game," because we were we were behind, we were trailing at the time. And I remember telling him, I said, it ain't over yet, Dr. Hahn, it ain't over yet. So we get out there, and not that I did anything great, but I get out there, and like the first play, we're at the 5-yard line coming out, and I'll never forget looking at the film, because you see Daniel, he's taking his arms and he's just raising them, standing at tailback, just raising them. And we run 44 lead, and I hand him the ball, and he is gone. 95-yard touchdown, high stepping about 30 yards out before he ever gets across the goal line. And just amazing, doing Daniel things. I mean, he was
that was the lights out touchdown.
Yeah, that was lights out.
We were actually ahead 21-12 at the half.
Yep.
And then they took the lead going up 24-21.
Yep.
And they already had a 71-yarder, a 66-yarder, and then he busted one for 56, and then the 95 yards and shut it out.
And that was,
hey, Robert Heron had
on 3 plays.
Yeah, I think Robert Heron had 2. One of them got called back because I mean Robert Heron, super talented guy, rest in peace. Amazing talent on the football field. But after we scored, I think we went up 28-24. They got the ball. Dak blitzed, took the ball. Oh, they had this big quarterback, and Dak just ripped the ball away from the quarterback and ran it in for a touchdown. And game over. Like they knew then that we were all over them. And funny thing about that is my brother-in-law coaches at Jordanton now, and the head coach was one of the guys that we played against, and we talk a lot about it every time we talk to him. Like,
I tell him, his
forget.
name is Daryl Andrus, is the head coach at Jordanton. And I tell him every time I see him that Daniel Vasquez just scored another touchdown. But
I forgot he was raising his arms. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, we broke the running back's leg for them. His name was Chris Borth. They ran a lead play. Oh. We had a defensive tackle named Robert Manhattas, and I had what was called a 71 stunt, and I was the outside backer. And they handed the ball to him on a lead, and the defensive end, which was Manhattas at the time, is supposed to go to the outside edge, pushing the tackle out, and it gives me a free running lane into the backfield. And sure enough, there was Borth right there, and I met him head on and kind of stood him up. And as I did, Manhattas gets blocked and falls on his ankle and broke that guy's leg in a compound fracture. And it was brutally ugly. And that kid's dad came down out of the stands and was like super mad at us, like we intentionally tried to break his leg, which we didn't. It was terrible. But I'll never forget what Brett Phillips was saying. It was like Brett was vicious, man. And like I said, we grew up with some tough guys. And Brett sees him on the field, is like, get his ass off the field. Let's go. Let's keep playing. And they're like, hey, dude, that guy just broke his leg. He goes,
dude, I think you broke your leg, dude.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so if I remember correctly, maybe you guys remember, you don't, but you remember Adrian Kennard?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Robert Manhattas?
Yes.
And Lewis and Leonard Chavez?
Absolutely.
Those guys walked around the halls like the 4 Goliaths, man. Like that's how big those guys were. Those 4 guys hung out. I mean, and when you saw those 4 guys, those were some big old. I don't know if Leonard and Lewis played football. I think Adrian Kennard played. But when you saw those 4 guys walking down those halls, those were some big old boys. They used to call them the 4 Goliaths, man, back in the day.
Yeah, big guys, no doubt.
Yeah,
we were pretty big on the line of scrimmage for a 3A school. We had a guy. I don't know if you remember Alan Christie, Johnny Zavala. Do you remember Alan Christie?
I don't.
He ended up being the Victoria quarterback. He was a superstar. mean, if we would have had him, I never would have seen the field offensively. I wish we would have, because we probably had a real shot at state. But I remember he came to town after one of our games to visit, because he'd gone to elementary school in Rockport, and he was looking at film, and he was shocked at how big our offensive and defensive line was. He's like, all those guys could come play in Victoria right now. There's, you guys are super talented for, that class level. So, we had some strong big guys.
Yeah, Adrian Kennard, Stutzman, Manhattas, those guys were big, man. Big
Eric
old boys,
Caruth.
man.
Eric Caruth was like 300 pounds, 6'3", 310, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, he was big. And I'll tell you a little story. I used to win some money. There's no lie, man. Tap. I got some family on Tap, and man, Daniel Rossi, we want to stop him. I bet money. I said, listen, I'm not gonna bet that we're gonna beat you guys, but I am gonna make this bet. If Daniel Vasquez, if he breaks during this football game and gets behind everybody, you don't have a guy on that football team that's gonna catch him unless he falls. And we started betting money, $25. I'm at like $80, $85, $90 I won in that game, because in that game he broke twice, and twice they couldn't catch him. And I still have it on a VH tape. I got to find it, where Daniel broke. We made a highlight back then, and you couldn't catch him, because if Daniel broke, you weren't going to catch him.
No.
I mean, you weren't going to stop this guy. What Tab didn't know was there was a sophomore. This was Daniel's junior year. What they didn't know about Rockport, I remember Tab, everybody was focused on Daniel Vasquez. What they didn't know was there was a linebacker named Dat Wynn that was on his way up. Nobody knew who this guy was, how good he was going to be, and he was lights out. So my question to you guys, and I'll ask all three of you guys to answer, and I'll go to Johnny first. How special, because you guys knew him better than a lot of us, how special was that win on that football field?
He knew the game. He just knew the game. I mean, he knew the offense. I guess high school football is like just like playing a regular, back then, a little Tecmo Bowl game. It's like he knew the plays. He would call out the plays before the plays would come out. Just of the formations they came out with. And that boy would be in the field house watching film every day before school. He would sit there watch him, study. And just the explosion that boy had. I mean, he went from slow to full speed, like quick. And for a big boy like that to move that quick, I mean, it was kind of hard just to step in his way, and the leadership that he had on the team, he always was excited. He was, he never talked down to us. So he's just one of the greatest leaders out on the football field. I don't know. He's just something else, man. That was just one thing, one of a kind guy.
Yeah. For me, when I look at Dat, so the Dat we played with was bigger than what was in college and the NFL weight wise. Dat weighed 245 when he played with us, and he was out of shape somewhat, super explosive, tree trunk thighs, like humongous thighs. Could have probably been an NFL fullback if he could hold onto the football. And the reason why he couldn't is because he broke his wrist or his hand or whatever.
His elbow. He broke his elbow in junior high. Johnny was there for that, I believe.
Yeah, and he couldn't hold on to the football really well. I can remember him running the football in a game at Mathis, and he's swatting kids off like they're flies, and his right hand, big mitt, is a fly swatter. And they probably had all 11 guys on him, and none of them ever got him to the ground. He just backed out of bounds. Super gifted, but a student of the game, and was a cheat code for us, because so many kids that were successful running backs against other schools, when they came to us, they were scared of number 7. He was number 9 in college. He was number 7 for us. They were scared of number 7. And, when you have that and the running backs already scared to run the football, and you put tough kids like Ric Walker and Jared Camille and Johnny Zavala at outside linebacker when they want to run away from him. There's not a lot of options, and not a lot of those guys didn't want to block Dat either. And if they did turn it in, when they say Dat cleaned it up, I mean, there's so many highlight film textbook sticks where he's planting kids into the ground that it's unbelievable. So very special player, blessed to play with him, and blessed to call him a friend.
You know, that guy was unbelievable, and we're blessed to have and say that we played with Daniel Vasquez and Dat Win, but just an ultimate competitor. Tough. I remember he had a broken wrist or something. If there was one knock on Dat always seemed to have like a little injury or a little ding, right? And I remember we're playing Cuero. We open up our senior year, 92, up against Cuero, and he's a junior linebacker, and that's our senior year. And Cuero was good, but they weren't as good as the year Johnny played them, and Finley was their quarterback, but they were still good. And that was our one loss that year. And one of the biggest plays of that game, Dat busts through on a blitz, and their quarterback rolled out to his right, and he's rolling up and he gets ready to pass, and Dat has like a club cast on his, like there's no hand, it's like a ball at the end of the cast, and then he's got the cast up to his, and he takes that cast and that arm and he goes across that quarterback's chest and just knocks him clean off his feet for a sack, and gets thrown a penalty flag for using the cast as a weapon. Got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on that, but an amazing athlete. And I think, what's great, you look at his story of where he came from to get to where he ended up, from, Vietnamese heritage, all that stuff, to, he played junior high ball for Cliff Davis, who really gave him some good coaching. And then he got to the varsity high school level, and Mike Coleman, to my brother's point, our defensive coordinator, best coach I've ever been around, best coach I've seen still to this day. He taught Dat how to look at tendencies and how to watch film, right? There's an art to watching film where most people don't see. Everybody wants to watch all their good plays and look at what I did here, and look at that big hit. And where Dat's looking at who his reads are and who his keys are, and then the tendencies of, hey, if they're lined up in this, this I formation, or if they're lined up in a spread formation or whatever, the tendencies, Dat would basically be able to do the math and look at a formation and the tendency with the down, distance, all that stuff. He was smart enough to identify that, and Coach Coleman taught him that. And I think that really carried on throughout his professional career, where he, in a lot of cases, he knew what was coming before the play even ended. And then all he's got to go do is run and knock the hell out of everybody. And he was very good at that. So incredible athlete, incredible player, and an even better guy.
I do remember John Madden one time saying, "Did Dat just call that play?" That's always going to stick with me. Like they had to replay it again, the audio to it. Like, did Dat really just call that play?
It was a shovel pass against the Eagles, and Dat called out the play. Watch the shovel. And sure enough, they make the play. And John Madden's like, listen, that Dat Win is calling the play before they even run, calling it out. And that's what's incredible. I mean, look, he was a stud in high school. He was a Superman at Texas A&M. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He got in shape. I'll never forget, he got redshirted, and we're down at Rockport Beach during the summer, and he got redshirted. So he's not going to get to play, but he'll dress and go to the games. And he shows up. And of course, we all remember Dat being fat, right? We called him fat. We called him fat in Vietnamese, which was mup. And that was the nickname that he had. And he shows up down at the beach in Rockport, and he is shredded, yoked. I mean, rocked up. There's not an ounce of fat on him. You're like, oh my God. And he goes, in his Vietnamese English accent, I remember telling him, if I don't make it, I'll become a bodybuilder, dude. I'll go be a bodybuilder. That's what he told me. And of course, obviously he made it big time. And we went up to a few games in College Station after that, because Rob and I at the time were actually trying to play small school college football in the area. We're trying to play at Brenham, Blinn Junior College. And so we went over to a couple of games at A&M, and they had a linebacker there named Trent Driver, who was this supposed to be stud. He played at
USA All-American.
Yeah, he was a USA All-American. He played at Cleveland High School in Houston area. And Driver was like 6'3", 245, 250, prototypical size, prototypical speed. Matter of fact, Donald Driver, the wide receiver for the Packers, is his older brother. Okay, this guy was supposed to be the next thing. And of course, here's Dat, who at that level was technically small, right? 5'11", 230 linebacker. And Dat went and took that job away from that guy, right? You know, and that's, to me, that epitomizes the heart of Rockport Pirates, right? That's what was instilled into us. It didn't matter how big, how small you were, you come out, you fight, and you compete. And Dat, I guarantee you, took that away from Rockport. And, you know, combine that ability and that toughness, and there you go.
You know, one of the other things I'll say is a lot of people don't know, you know, they watched Rockport and they said, Dat win, Dat win, Dat win. He has a brother named Hung, which I'm sure you guys know. Hung was our center, and that dude was an incredible football player too. And as the center, it's the most unsung position. But I'm going to tell you right now, he was incredible. Small, undersized, ferocious, relentless, and you know, just shows you the family, the toughness that they have, everything they went through, and how that translated, and how they both turned into great leaders for us, and were instrumental in the success that we had. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
Hung took the drill bear crawl to his level, to his advantage.
no
Well, I
doubt.
mean, he was 5'5", 185 pounds. I mean, starting center for us. I put it this way. I'm a short guy. I was 5'6.5" in high school. When I played quarterback, I had to get really, really low to get in there. And I'll tell you right now, defenses had a hard time seeing me because I had to get so low behind Hung as my center.
Yeah, I mean, I remember his brother on the line. I remember that. I mean, and I just wanted you guys, because you guys played with him, I want you guys to share a little bit about that and your experience playing on the football field with him. Guys, before I let you go, I got one more question, the Walker boys. And I wanted you guys both to break down when you guys played. Of course, we talked about the Port Isabel game. You lost it. We lost it on penetrations. Now, there is no penetrations. There's overtime. Talk a little bit about what you see now as far as teams going into overtime versus penetrations. My guess is that you guys didn't like penetrations, but if you can kind of talk a little bit about penetration versus overtime.
Yeah, we first of all, we didn't know the rules, most of us, when we played. We thought we were going to overtime. And when the officials said the game was over, we're like, what are you talking about? What's going on? You know, the players on the sideline knew because the coaches were starting to do strategies to align, but the guys on the field didn't all know. And obviously to lose 5-4 on penetrations was devastating. And we wanted more football because at that time we felt like we had momentum other than just giving them the ball. We had scored on the previous 2 drives to get back in the game. And so, you know, we wanted more football because we knew we were going to win that football game. We were the more talented team. We'd made mistakes, and ultimately, I think we beat ourselves more than they beat us. But overtime is what it should be. You know, you play till the scoreboard changes and someone takes the lead. And if it starts at the 25, you know, going in and you're going to do that, I really liked our chances. And, you know, I wish that rule would have been in place when we were there. And we'd probably been a little farther in the playoffs. We could have told some different stories about some other games.
Well, look, Rob is much more eloquent about it than I am. It's a bunch of bull, you know what, okay? Penetrations are stupid. They're foolish. It's a dumb way to end a game and end a season, especially after all that hard work and grinding and blood, sweat, tears, all that stuff. To lose a game that way is, you didn't lose and you lost. It's taken away from you. And look, without a doubt, we were the better team. We were the much more talented team. I'll say this till I go to my grave. We should have gone all the way to South Lake Carroll and got our ass whooped. But you know, watching Sinton play Marble Falls in the playoffs the next week and watching that game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, we should have been there. But Rockport beat Rockport that night, without a doubt. I'll never forget coming out on that field, and it was the prettiest green natural grass field I'd seen at that time ever. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, this field is gorgeous. It's beautiful. And we get out there and we start to warm up, and those tonneau cleats, and they were brutal, horrible cleats. They were this circular round cleat inside another circle and another circle. And I'll tell you right now, they filled up with mud so fast, we had no traction. And the first time you stepped and made a cut on that beautiful green field, that green sod went away and it was nothing but wet mud right underneath. And the longer we kept playing, the more and more that field got torn up. And, you know, we heard after the fact that they had they had watered the field heavily to essentially deal with our speed. They had contacted the coach at Fallon and asked him to get that field wet to limit Vasquez's speed and Robert Herring's speed, that speed, all that stuff. So we were the faster team, we were the bigger team, we were the better team, but we couldn't get out of our own way that night. We made way too many mistakes, and when you turn the ball over 8 times, you don't deserve to win a football game, and that's what ended up happening.
Hey, one thing real quick. I ran into a guy where I worked who was on that Port Isabel team. And as soon as I met him, oh, you played at Rockport? I'm like, yeah. He goes, y'all the best football team we ever saw. And I'm like, you're making me sick right now because I feel the same way.
Oh, and listen, what you were, man. I mean, all the time in the world. I mean, you got Dad Wynn, you got Daniel Vasquez, you got Daniel's backup is Robert Herring. I mean, all the speed in the world, the size, the line, Studsman and Manhattas, and all these guys. I mean, it was all there. I was there at that game. It was upsetting for a long time because that whole year we were going. We were, like you're saying, we were going deep. We had big plans, and then to fall out in that second round was one of the biggest disappointments in Rockport football history. With the team. But hey, that don't take away from the talent that team had. You guys were great, and it's also, like you said before then, I mean, it's been 20 years or so since Rockport had been in the playoffs. It was those classes, the class before you, and those classes that started this playoff run. And now look where we're at now. So I want to thank the Walker boys for coming on and spending some time with us and being able to talk some history. I'll give you two guys the last word before I let you go. Anything you want to say and add? I appreciate you guys coming on the Pirates Cove podcast and hope to have you guys. If we can ever get Daniel Vasquez, and maybe we can get Jeff Aguilar and Dad Wynn to come on here, we're definitely going to send another invite to the Walkers and probably put a 2.5 hour podcast and just go back. But that's the plan, to bring you guys and try to get Dad in here, Daniel Vasquez. Of course, God rest Robert Herring in peace. We can't get him right, but I knew his older brother Curtis Herring before he broke his hip. Man, that was a hell of an athlete as well. And so hopefully we can do this again sometime soon, but I will give you guys the last word. Rick, I'll go to you first.
I think the last word is I feel extremely blessed to have had the opportunity to play at Rockport when I did, with the right teammates. I mean, how lucky was I to get to play with my twin brother? True blessing. I owe him a ton, because that guy really helped set the foundation in toughness and competitiveness, because when you're twins, everybody pits you against each other. And I'll actually end in a weird way, because it'll probably surprise everybody, but I owe my brother an apology. You see, he was probably the best receiver on our football team, and he caught the ball extremely well, but this short guy that played quarterback here couldn't throw the ball very well, and a lot of times I couldn't even see him. And so the previous year he had something like 30 catches, led the team in catches. His junior year and his senior year, he caught none, or one. Did you catch one? Or none. And it was my fault, and I did him a complete disservice. So if I could go back and change one thing, that'd be it, because he deserved better than that. And so if I could change that, that's one thing I'd say. The last thing I'd end with is to the kids listening that are Pirates right now, this community, that school, they got an opportunity every year to do something special and create some magical, amazing memories. And it's completely up to them. No one's going to do it for them. They've got to put the work in. They've got to hold each other accountable and go out and compete every Friday night and every day in that weight room and in the classroom and all that goes with that. But the memories that come with that, if you do it right, man, you won't, like, as much as I'd like to change that Port Isabel game, I wouldn't change any of it, because the experience I got to have with the people that I got to have it with, next level. I love it. I'll always look back at those memories. And that's my advice to anybody that's a Pirate right now listening. They need to go create that type of memories, because it's out there to be had.
Awesome.
Rob?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Rick. And, I'll add one funny to that. Rick actually caught a pass here from Dat on a fake extra point for a 2-point conversion. And for years would never let me live down that I was a receiver and didn't catch a pass. And as a quarterback, he did. So no, look, I'll echo blessed to play with my twin brother. Blessed to play with great people like Johnny Zavala. There's so many names I could go through that we haven't touched on that I feel like we're doing a disservice to not mention them, because it was a team. It was a team of young men that came together collectively, not all in the same grade, but collectively committed to a goal and to one another, that then created a community of parents that came together that united us like no other. One of the things that was super special is when we took that bus ride to Falfurrias, the ride out of town, and having every elementary school, parents, the whole community lined up to celebrate us and wish us the best was an amazing moment in a myriad of amazing moments that created something special. You can't explain it. And to Ric's point, when we started, you think everybody gets it, and they don't. Everyone that plays gets that experience, and they don't. And to his point, take advantage of that opportunity. Do everything you can to embrace it. It flies by so fast. And you blink your eye and you're 45, 46 years old, talking about stuff that happened 25 years ago that shaped who you are as an adult, that has aligned you to make proper choices and to fall back on the leadership of the coaches, the community, and your teammates. It's special. And I'm just thankful for it. Thankful for this opportunity to get to share it. Thank you for having us. And, anytime we're here to be on, whatever we can share, we're happy to do. We eat, drink, and sleep.
Well, guys, look, thank you for coming on. And like I said, we've sent out a message to Daniel Vasquez. We've sent one out to Jeff Aguilar. Jeff, he's going to come on. He just couldn't come on this time around. We're going to try to even get one out to that win, man. There's a lot of guys that know him. See if we can get that on the podcast. When we do, and we're able to get that, we'll try to get Daniel and Jeff and bring you guys on. And if Johnny, I know Johnny sent me some information on Eric Carew, so see if we can get him on. And then we'll do a 2-hour podcast, and we'll just talk about the good old times back in the 90s football, guys. So once I get that taken care of and we get everybody formed, hopefully we can do it sometime soon. I got your information. I'll be sending you guys another invite. And like I said, we'll do a 2-hour, Pirates Cove podcast of the football in the 90s, man. And we'll just go at it and tell stories for 2 hours, man. It'd be great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. We'll be seeing you guys soon.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Hey, great to see you, Johnny.
Nice meeting you. Great to see you, Johnny.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hey, you have a good one. Thank you.
Take care.
See you guys.
So it took a little longer than I thought, but we got some good memories there. I remember watching these guys play. They were great. It was a great team. They were not only great football players, but they were just great guys. You see them around town and school. They were just great guys then, and they still are now. And it was really good to bring them on, and hopefully we can get more teammates. The only reason that team right there was destined the whole season to do something good. It kind of fell short, but you kind of heard a little bit of what they were saying and what happened. So hopefully we'll continue to bring more alumni as the podcast progresses, with alumni in volleyball, basketball, baseball, and so forth. This was fun for me. And now we're going to turn it over to the 2021 Rockport-Fulton Pirate football season. And, we've been talking about it. You've got some returning players from last year's second round playoff. We've had our head coach, Jay Seibert, on. Talked a little bit about the upcoming season. We've had our defensive coordinator, Coach Robbins, on talking about the defense and a lot of the moves that they've made. And then, of course, here in another week and a half or so, we're going to have 2 more football coaches. Coach Elizondo and Coach Bella will be on August 25th. And we'll be talking more football. But for tonight, it's just going to be the crew. We're going to kind of break down the 2021 Rockport-Fulton Pirate football season. Some of the guys have been out there 2 days. Coach Steve's been out there. Tony's been out there watching these guys. So we definitely want to hear what they've got to say. And then we're just going to kind of break down the offense, the defense, the passing, the run-in, the attack, the players that are coming back. And so if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and do that first. So I'll go to the coach, Coach Steve first. You've been out there 2 days, Coach. What have you seen from our guys so far?
Well, I tell you what I do see is they're flying around the field. I mean, they're in constant motion. They look really sharp. You know, one thing I wanted to get into before I started talking, they're doing something a little different this year, and I kind of like it. It caught my eye. So they start off the practice with a little 1v1, and I could see it lighting the fire in the guys. You know, it's like one-on-one drills. They'll do, a bull in the ring. They'll circle up, and they'll do lineman drills where it's just one-on-one, and they call out each other. They'll do DB on a receiver, little fade route, just something to have a little friendly competition. And I see it getting the boys really energized. They do it before they start the practice, and I'm really enjoying it. And the boys are. So that's one thing that caught my eye that they're doing differently now, and it's pretty exciting. And and then of course, I mean they run a great practice. I mean it's constant motion. They're moving. Everybody's got their drills and their coaches, and it's really nice to see. It's really these guys have got a great game plan set up, and they're executing it, man. And the boys are flying around, and they're really responding to it. And so yeah. So I mean things look great.
That's great. Tony, anything you want to add? I know you've been out there a couple of times watching them out there.
Yeah, like Steve said, I mean they're looking sharp. I know he said this last week. They look small without their pads, but I mean we really got some big boys on that team. I mean that D-line is looking pretty fierce. I mean, we got some big boys on there. They're working hard. Matt Vasquez came back, and he's playing on the end, and we got that sophomore Noah Jones. I mean, Lewis in the middle. I mean, they're looking tough. You know what I mean? Peyton, Peyton, that linebacker, he looks comfortable. I mean, the boys are looking good. Ace is completing, completing some passes to receivers. I see them working on that, and the backs are working hard together. There's some names that come to mind that we don't talk about a lot, but I mean, we got some juniors that look like they're going to do some good things. We got Caden Kennedy, who looks really sharp out there. Of course, Devin Phillips, that looks sharp out there. I mean, I think we're going to have a good ball club, man. I mean, the boys are doing good. So, like Rob and Rick said, they got to go out there and put that practice on game nights and just show out, you know what I mean, and make those memories. And I think if they do that, man, it's going to be a great season.
Yeah. One thing I do want to add, without, obviously, giving up too much, Coach Seibert said it himself that they were going to do a little bit more, pass plays. They were going to throw a little bit more of that in there. And I see them, they're working hard, and there's a lot of depth at receiver. There's some guys flying around, and there's some, the tight end play looks really sharp with Ian McPherson out there. That guy's got some really, really nice hands. And, who knew, right? I didn't know that guy had such great hands, but I seen him do like I said, they do this 1v1, before the start of practice, and they lined up Ian versus Krupa, right? Just think of that matchup right there. Of course, he's playing a little out of position, but the linebackers got to cover too, right? They got to cover that fade. So it not as much then. But, downset Hut, Ace drops back, and he throws a dime to the back of the end zone. Ian reaches up, one hand, brings it down, rolls into the, I mean, great hands. So the tight end play looks really sharp. And like Tony was saying, they did a little bit shifting around. I guess, just like every, they try to see whether, they spoke about Jonah and this and that, but they're shuffling. They're trying to find the best chemistry with those guys. So they got two towering defensive end now, because both Noah and Oh gosh, help me out, Tony.
Matthew.
Matthew Vasquez. Huge kids, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, they look great. And you know, I got off the truck today. I hadn't gotten off the truck until today. I got off the truck and I walked all the way down the side of the field when they went to their starting D, right? And I walked down there and hey man, these guys are making plays. You know, they're fighting off blocks and with 55 in the middle, right? So I was used to seeing this guy on defensive end and he was bringing it. You know, he looks great off the edge, but he looks really nice in the middle. I'll tell you that. I mean, you know, he's got a nose for the ball. Yeah, Lewis, he's got a nose for the ball. He's super strong kid. And he's fighting them off and making plays. They're all three making plays in the backfield, and that's super encouraging, right? You see all three guys, you know, nose to the ball, and then you know you got those guys coming off. You know, I've seen tons of play by Peyton and the boys. So, man, I love what I'm seeing out there. They're doing a great job.
Johnny, anything you want to add? Offense, defense? I know you hadn't been out there. I hadn't been out there either, but I know from last year and what you see coming back. What's your thoughts on the Pirates 2021 upcoming season?
Really, I guess you know, I know the offense is going to be there. It's, you know, the backfield and Eggs having that experience now. You know, it was kind of hard going into that big time first game of the season against district rivalry sitting. You know, so. He got some games under his belt, so I think our offense will be all right. I'm hoping to see a little adjusting from our defense and what we faced sitting last year. Not hoping to see the same kind of defense we went into that. We did change it up, you know, after a few games, you know, and I hope we do the same thing. You know, and that's all I'm hoping to see is, you know, not stay with that same defense. You know, have two or three different defensive alignment. You know, that way, you know, a team don't get set on us, you know, repeatedly, you know, have a set block every time. So that's what I want to see is something different, you know, not going into these games where like, you know, people are just running right over the tackle and just power sweeps, you know, that's one thing that killed us last year. So hopefully they found some personnel and a way to stop this year.
Well, I want to add to what Johnny said. You know, as far as this game we're talking about, I mean, we're going to keep talking about sin game till it happens. But, you know, one of the things you have to remember about the defense this year is Payton's coming off the line and Krupa's coming off the line. Those are two guys that are not going to have a hand on them as soon as that ball snaps. And those guys are hungry for the ball. So, you know, now they don't have to fight for a tackle. Now they're just going to be there. And that's what I'm most excited about the defense to see, because remember, they played on the line last year. You know what I mean? So now we're moving them off the line, putting them at linebacker, and now they get to see the field better and they don't got a body on them because that's in line. They were big. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and even then, those boys still had good games. But I'm just excited to see what they're going to do this year, you know, playing off the line and being able to get a different vision of the play developing. And like I said, those boys, they're hungry for the ball. They're real smart. They're real athletic, and they're really strong. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be different. Just even if you don't change the defense, you change the personnel. And like Steve said, I mean, you got Noah and Matthew. Those are some big boys. They're hard to block. I mean, we got our starting line in there, and them guys are hard to block. And you put Lewis, you know, in the middle. He's super aggressive, super strong. He's going to give the centers and guards that try to double team, he's going to give them problems. I'm going to tell you right now. You know, they dealt with Peyton last year, and now Peyton's off the line, but they're not getting a break with Lewis. They're really not, because he's getting after it. I'm watching
that guy. Yeah, he's constant motion, that guy. That's one thing I took from last year. You know, coming off the edge, his motor is something else. And then, you know, if they stick with this, you know, at nose and he brings that same, you didn't lose nothing, right? So that's what we were like, you know, like in scramble mode, like, okay, well, how's this nose going to work out? Well, you know, with putting Lewis there with this motor that just wants to go, you know, and frees up Peyton. And I did see that they are on the same side. You know, we talked about that, you know, Krupa and Peyton coming off the same edge. It's like, you know, pick your poison. And that's what I've seen as of late. You know, they're on the same side. So, I mean, good luck, good luck, blocking these guys. So, and then the other guy in the middle is Joe.
Joe.
Joe's looking phenomenal. He's making some plays. And then I think what is that Smitty,
Schmidt,
right? Yeah, that's Smitty on the other side. So he's actually stepped up here, in these last practices. And he's working his way towards that start lineup. I mean, I've seen him there more than once. So, I guess they like what they're seeing. He's making some plays out there. It's crazy. You look at those two, and he looks just like Peyton. If you don't watch them looking for their numbers, they just put those jerseys on where I could tell who everybody was. Before when they were out there in those just T-shirts, I couldn't tell who was who. But man, I tell you, they look great, man. They look great. They look quick, and I think we're going to have a great season.
And the other thing I want to talk about, the other side of the defense. You brought it. You mentioned Joe. I remember Joe since he was in youth football. He has a nose for the game too, and middle linebacker has always been his thing. I mean, he was a fullback in youth, and I think he played some fullback in junior high, but he's a linebacker. And last year in that sending game, he didn't come in at linebacker till second half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now he got the opportunity to start in this game and really do what he loves to do. You know what I mean? And that's I'm excited to watch him play because like I said, I remember him when he was younger, and even when he first got to high school playing freshman and JV ball. You can't underestimate Joe. He tries to be on every play, and I know he will leave everything out on the field. So you talk about Peyton and Krupa on one side, but Joe on the other side, he's not a joke. He's definitely not something that you could take lightly. So it's going to be a good. I mean, I think the defense is solid. I really do. You got your same corners coming back. You got Carson Flores coming back at safety, and I'm not really sure who else they have back there with him. Steve, you know who else is back there with him? With Carson?
I saw. Oh my gosh!
Kennedy?
I saw Wyatt get a little, looks there, here and there. Yeah, Wyatt Bones. I seen him out there. So, that's what's great. I mean, I think they got a lot of exchangeable parts. They got kids that could, they can come down, play corner, because we're going to need to give Devin some blows. He's going to need some, have some reps out. It's impossible to play 100% of both, offense and defense. So what I'm seeing is depth in the secondary, right? And that's what we need, right? We need to have that depth, and we have some size. We got some range, because we both know that, Booger and Devin, Ricky, they're a little height challenge, but they got some airs, they got some pieces in there, and they got some hands, they got some stretch. So I'm excited, man. I really do think that, like Tony said, that defense is really gonna turn some heads this year. I really do think so. I mean, the offense, of course, they sell the tickets, but that defense, they bring home the girls. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what's going to happen this year.
Well, listen, guys, I'll tell you, I haven't seen them at practice yet. This Friday will be the first time that I'll look at them because I'll be going to the scrimmage up in Corpus. So I'll see you guys there. But I'll tell you, the offense is, the defense is, you got to go, if we stay healthy, you got to deal with Ace. Johnny talked about 1 year under his belt. He should be better this year, and I'm sure he will be. And then you've got Chupi, Devin, and Luke.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, Luke, got hurt in that game and didn't come back the rest of the season. That's a big blow. Because what it does is, for defense is, with one of those guys out, then you get to, okay, now we can, focus more on Chupi. When you got to deal with Devin and Luke, or you have to deal with Luke and Ryan last year, that puts pressure on that defense because so many times you have to focus on John. These other guys, you can't take all three of them out. It's an impossibility. Last year, you had, that big game, first district game, Chupi goes out. You heard Cyber say, man, he had over 100 yards in just the first quarter alone.
Yeah.
He can't come back. The other guy's out, Luke. It makes it really easy then and for that defense to be able to stop that Rockport offense, because you have two of your big guys out, and then you still score 30-something points on that defense. So when you add Luke and you add John and then you add Devin, a guy that got a lot of experience last year and knows how to run that offense now, that offense becomes, just on the run game alone, is hard to stop. Now you add Ace in there, could probably run. I've been told that Ace can run as well. I don't know if they're going to let him run, but he has the ability to be able to take off and run. He's going to be able to pass, and then you get these. I hear big things about Jordy, Gibson and the hands that he has. We talked about, Coach Cyber talked about what he's doing as a sophomore. I mean, this kid is going to be something good. It's going to be spectacular. I've seen him play. He's very athletic. He's been playing football pretty much all his life. And so then you add Ian McPherson and you add, that passing game really gets going. Watch out, because then that run game is going to open up that run game. So that offense, that passing gets going, man, it's going to be hard to stop that Rockport offense. And if everybody stays healthy. Yeah.
Well, hey, you brought it up. Let me, talking about Jordy, I tell you what, Jordy's going to be my sleeper pick. I think this guy is going to come out this year and turn some freaking heads. All right. This guy's got a set of hands on him, and he's got all the swag that a receiver needs to be dominant. He's quick. He's got the little quick moves, great hands. And he's got actually a stronger bond with Ace. If you guys remember, these guys came up together. They're junior high, they're youth football. They played together. Jordy is Ace's guy. Look out for that. I'm telling you right now, I think Jordy's going to play a big part of the season. Like I said, he's got that swag that you need, man. He's got that bravado, and he makes plays. It's one thing to be flashy and everything, but making plays, and that kid is making plays. I see him in the, and he's stretching the field. He's going deep. Every time I look up, there goes, Ace dropping back. When he wants to go deep, that's who he's looking for. So, hey, he's going to be my sleeper pick.
And like I said, go ahead, Tony. Go ahead.
I want to comment on Ace. Okay. I remember Ace in youth football, and Ace could run. Ace could run 50 yards sideways and then run for a touchdown, 50 yards for a touchdown. You know what I mean? That boy got wheels. And I said this last year, if that boy's wheels turn on, you're going to have 4 running backs to worry about, especially if they start passing. He don't even have to complete a pass. You keep the defense honest just by throwing a pass. I've seen it in practice, he's starting to run. He's getting comfortable back there. And he's a smart kid. He knows when to tuck and run. He didn't do a lot of it last year, but I promise you, if those wheels turn on and he tucks that ball and runs, you got 4 running backs you got to worry about, because that boy got wheels. Yeah. I'm telling you right now. So just watch him. As he matures into the position. We're talking about the big 3 running backs, but I promise you, if he keeps that defense honest by throwing a few passes, completing a couple, he's gonna have a lot of opportunities to run that field and get a lot of yards. So
didn't that drive you crazy last year, Tony, when you be like, if he just would have kept it, because he carries out that fake, right? You hand off, you carry out the fake, and then every time it seemed like I look up and it'd be like open field in front of Ace, and if he just keeps it from every now and again, he'd lead the team in rushing. You know what I'm saying? So we are seeing a little bit of that on the field. There is a lot of read options where he's pulling that ball down and he's keeping those linebackers honest. That's what I like too, because it's great for the, our middles to see that, pull that ball back and let's see where you're at. And he's catching them out of position sometimes. So it's been a great challenge to see it both, kind of duke it out, go back and forth. Of course, they don't always run ones on ones, but it's great to see that look, from time to time. See him pull that ball down and take off, like Tony said. Man, he's going to be a great addition.
Yeah, I think last year was a freshman, but we'll see what happens. His offense it's got weapons, and I've always said, and this is something I think that hasn't just started. This was something that's been in the works for years now. You see young guys that are coming up, right? It's just my thoughts, but you know what's coming up. We knew these guys are going to be coming up. So this is something that I'm sure the coaches have been working. That's not something that we just one summer, hey, we're going to do this. You see the talent that's coming up. So you prepare yourself. You know you got a quarterback coming. You know you got receivers coming. So this has been in the works for years and setting everything up. It's just a matter of these guys, you know, getting together, building that chemistry. And I think, like I said, for Rockport, you know, we look how far Rockport's been able to go the last few years with just a run game, with literally minimal passing. You add that passing to a run game that's been good for years, and this is an offense that's very hard to stop. Then, like Johnny says, you throw in that defense, and that defense gets good. And the one thing we know, because we've had Coach Robbins here, is talking to him, he ain't gonna say nothing but top-notch stuff. So if you missing tackles and you ain't doing your job, you know what these guys are gonna be doing at practice. So we got a great defensive coordinator, I think, that demands, and we've heard what he says. So one thing you know about that defense is there's going to be intensity over there because their coaches like that. So I look for good things to happen both offensively and defensively. It may take a little while for it to click a little bit because there has been some. A lot of times we play one game and people see, oh, it's not clicking, we're going to have a bad season. But they have made some major moves. There are some people, so it may take a game or 2 or 3 years to click. But I think eventually, hopefully, before district starts, we'll be getting in a row and watch out and see what happens. This is going to be a tough district, though. We've got some really good teams in this district, and we're fixing to break them down here in just a minute as we talk about them. And so the first team that I want to break down with you guys is Raymondville. Just kind of go around and give your thoughts on what you think Raymondville. This was a team that maybe played 1 game or 2 last year. They didn't really have a season because of COVID, but years prior, this is a team that's always in the playoffs, going into the 3rd round. They're a very, very tough team. I don't think anything's going to change this year. Johnny, what's your thoughts on Raymondville? You're on mute.
Yeah, we didn't see much of Raymondville last year. They only actually had, I believe, 4 games under their belts, and they just basically played, I believe, was it the Port Isabel? Yeah, they played the Port Isabel for that 1 playoff spot, coming from the South. So they did have a great quarterback back then. They had basically like one of those all-around athletes that played both, running back, quarterback, basically led the offense. I'm not sure if he's back this year, but I expect a lot from Raymondville this year. I think they're going to be the number 4 spot in our district. That's my.
So you're saying Raymondville will be in the playoffs, but they're going as the 4th seed.
I'm having that confidence. I'm going by elimination here.
Yeah, that's all right. But right before we end this talk about these teams, I'm gonna go back to you guys. You're gonna give me your 4 picks. But you're saying right now, we know that for Johnny, Raymondville's going number 4. All right, that's good. Tony, I'll go to you next. What's your thoughts on Raymondville?
Yeah, like Johnny said, if you look at the last maybe 3 or 4 years, they're a 3rd round team too. They didn't get to have a season last year, but the previous 2 years, they're a 3rd round team. So, we're not talking about a team that doesn't have talent, that doesn't have a history of winning. We're talking about a team that's used to winning. They, because of the circumstances, they weren't able to have a season and really show what they got. And I think that's, sucks for the kids. But you got to remember, for someone who loves the game, they're coming back hungry. Now, I'm gonna. I know we ain't talking about it yet, but I'm gonna go with Johnny. I know they were picked to be the 3rd seed, but I think they are going to be a 4 because I'm not gonna take Ingleside lightly this season. I'm really not. I think Ingleside's going to be number 3. So.
Coach, what's your thoughts on Raymondville?
Well, obviously staying healthy for them is going to be big. They're going to have to stay healthy back there. Coming off of playing limited games, it's just like anything else. You got to, it's hard to simulate game, right? You got to play them. And so that's going to be a tough one, getting back into that groove and having a full season. You got to, take that in consideration, being off the field for that long, it's staying healthy, so that's going to be big for them. I don't have them in my top four. It's going to be, there's got to be something said to that, if playing, needing that playing time. And it's, I think, it's going to be tough for them to pick things back up where they might've been a few years back. I really don't know as far as, what their depth looks like and how all that stuff looks for them. But for me, it's a lot to say about playing time and how much time you spent on the field, and can you maintain that health, what I'm saying, because they haven't had so much contact, so that's my take on them.
I'm quickly going to say about Raymondville. I have them at number 3. I hear what you guys are saying. This is a program with the same coach that's been there, and they've been in the playoffs. It's one of the most dominating teams in their district in the Valley, and they prove that year in and year out. I think their toughest competition this year will be Rockport and Sinton, and I think it's a disadvantage because we've never really played. We don't have nothing on them. They don't have nothing on us. We kind of heard Coach Robbins talk a little bit about that, but coaches see each other on the YouTubes and stuff. But I see this team still making it in the playoffs in this district, but I see them getting in and being the 3rd place team behind Rockport and Sinton. And going on to the next team in our district, of course, we're going to be talking about those Sinton Pirates. So Tony, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts on the Sinton Pirates in 2021?
Now back to Raymondville. They did go 2 rounds in the playoffs last year, by the way.
Right.
They did go 2 rounds in the playoffs. So they basically beat a number 1 team, which is Divine.
Right.
Out of that district. I know, so that I'm still kind of looking back as far as, who is back over there though.
Yeah, I still got them at number 3. We shall see, though. That's why we record this thing, right? Because we're going to go back and say, hey, look, this is what happened. Nah. But Tony, we'll go back to, and it's an early preseason, right? We haven't seen them. Things may change as we go into the preseason games before district. Tony, we're going to start talking about the Sinton Pirates now. So your thoughts on the 2021 Sinton Pirates?
Well, I am a Pirate fan, Rockport Pirate fan. So I'm going to say Sinton's going to be number 2. But what I will say is Sinton has always been competitive. And after talking to Robbie and Ricky, it seems like it's been going on for a while. You know what I mean? I know when I played in the late 90s, Sinton was our rival in a different district. We didn't even play Rockport. You know what I mean? So Sinton is been a thorn in my side for a long time as well, even not growing up as a Rockport Pirate. There's no doubt about the level of talent that they got. But like we just talked about before, I think our boys, I think they beat Sinton the last 2 or 3 years besides last year. They beat Sinton a few years already. And last year, they took that away from them. We did have some things go against us. And, and like even Coach Cyber said, don't like to make excuses. What would have happened if everyone was on the field, but we got a whole team coming back, and if our boys show up and we stay injury free, it's going to be a good game. But Sinton definitely, I put them at number 2, but they got a great ball club. I know they got a lot of returners as well. So, definitely can't take the Sinton Pirates lightly at all.
Coach?
Hey, well, plain and simple, obviously, Sinton's always, we've been connected by the hip to that team, to that town, since youth, like Tony said. But one thing I could always say, this team right here, they know how to beat Sinton. You know what I'm saying? They've done it. And yeah, okay, they, didn't last year, they didn't pull through, but they have, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Obviously, we always play each other hard. I mean, it's just like, any division rivalry. You got that team that's, you guys always play regardless of the records or whatever. You know how all that goes. Regardless of the records or the standings, they just always play each other hard. Well, we're always going to play each other's hard, but I know this team knows how to beat Sinton. And, we're not scared to go over there and do it here, whatever it might be. But I got Sinton coming in second, just like Tony. So, and then, of course, on the field, obviously, great talent, all the speed that you need, all the size is there. But like I said, just as much as they, we circle, our calendars when, they're worried about us too. Trust me, those guys are like, man, Rockport, this group. So, I'm sure they're just as worried as about us than some people are about them.
Absolutely. Johnny?
What are we talking about now?
We're talking about- yeah.
Sinton has a lot of talent. They come back a lot of respect. A lot of respect for the brothers. Their defense is real swarming. I mean, even when John was in there during the game, when he did play, they still swarmed to him. He had a little trouble getting out sometimes. So it's a very swarming team. They fly to the ball. They're well trained. They've always been well trained as flying the ball. That power sweep, man, they do. That's just something that many teams can't stop. That's going to be a great team. I don't know where I want to place them. It'll be a tie. It'll be penetrations. No, I think our boys can beat them out. I'm gonna put Sinton at number 2, and I'll elaborate more on that on us later.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, this is what I'll say. I've been watching Sinton Peru for years, and the last 3 years, we've beaten them twice. They beat us last year. Prior to that, they, pretty much owned the district. They've been the team to beat. This is a team, like Johnny said, it's well coached, very respected. I have a lot of respect for them. I mean, I always want to beat them, but I have a ton of respect for that program because they've been good for so long. And Troutman is new there now, but he's a very intense coach, and they follow his lead. When I heard an interview from him, he's more like a wrestler, I think, when he just gets down. I mean, he's like this, I think, all the time. So they're well coached. They've got a lot of talent. 2 years ago, this team was really down. 3 years ago, when we took the district from them, and then the next year we took the district, this was a team that was really down. And it didn't take them very long to come back up. So that tells me a lot about that program and what their coaching staff are doing. We saw last year where they struggled in the season, the beginning, and we were kind of ourselves talking about, hey, what's going on with Sinton? They lost to Orange Grove, then they lost to Miller. They couldn't really put four quarters together, and they quickly turned it around. And once they started winning, it was hard for them to lose, and they went 3 rounds and played a Wimberley team that they lost to, but they competed. I think they lost the running back in that game. I think he got hurt, or somebody got hurt. If memory serves correct, I think it was a running back that got hurt that didn't finish the game. So that hurts. Johnny talked about, sometimes you just run plays that it's just hard to stop. So it's a very good team that could very well win the district. I'm from Rockport, and I definitely always want my team to win. But I think Rockport and Sinton this year are pretty much matched up. Offensively, they can score a lot of points. So can we. It's not like we're outmatched. Really, that they outmatch us or we outmatch them in a certain area. They've got running backs. We've got running backs. They run a certain style. We run a certain style. They got a good quarterback. Our quarterback's still maybe 2 years younger than theirs, but still he's a great quarterback. Ace has been, this has been something that he's been destined to do since he was little. You know, I mean, he knew he was going to be quarterback, and he knows that offense. And so even though he's 2 years younger, he's still a threat. Last year, he almost had over 1,000 yards passing as a freshman, you know, for an offense that really doesn't pass a lot. So their offense can score. Our offense can score. You know, their defense is good. Our defense is good. They've got some studs on the defense. We got some studs. So to me, it's pretty evenly matched. I think one thing that helps us is we're going to be playing at home. You know, we get this crowd going. I think home field advantage for Rockport's been good. We played good the last couple of years at home, and we've heard Coach Seibert talk about it. I think that's going to be a big advantage for us. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think we are going to be able to pull it out as long as they're – and I want them to be healthy, and I want us to be healthy. But I'm going to put Rockport at number 1. I'm putting Sidney at number 2. You know, and a lot of that is because, like I said, I think they're pretty much evenly matched up. But, you know, Rockport, of course, is my team. That's my team. There's no way I'm going to put them at second. I mean, that'd be crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm going number 1. This is the PC podcast, man. This is the Pirates Cove Green. This is the Green Pirates Cove podcast, right? So, you know, hey, man, I got my boys. I got their back. I bring them on. I talk to them. You see them. I know what they're about. And so, you know, I'm riding with these guys until the very end. So there's no way that I was going to put the Maroon Pirates over the Green Pirates. So I'm going, you know, our Pirates all the way. They're going number 1, but I do think it's going to be a good game. And I would tell everybody that watches this podcast on that game, please come out and watch that game. You know, let's pack the stands for, you know, the RF Pirates. I know Sid's coming with their crowd, and it's going to be a good one. And I just pray that we're healthy at that game, but it's going to be a good one, but I'm going with the Green Pirates, man.
Hey, I think the key to that's going to be our secondary play for sure. Our secondary is going to have to play big. You know, those guys with those quick receivers and those big receivers that they got down there. Our secondary play is going to be big that game. I guarantee it. And I think the boys are going to step up to the challenge. I think they're ready. I think they've learned from last year's. You know, we had Devin on, and he talked about his, you know, his struggles, you know what I'm saying? He talked about certain plays and stuff like that. So, hey, I see our secondary coming up big in that game.
Listen, I'll just end it with this with Sinton. Listen, they got studs, man. I mean, whether, you know, you like them or you don't, that's a great program. And they're going to be good for a long time. And they're well disciplined, like Johnny said. And Johnny knows it because even in the 90s, Johnny, you know, he's talked about this on the podcast where he's gone to war with them. He's been on the field with those Sin Pirates. You heard about the Walkers, you know, what they said, Ric and Rob Walker. They were tough then, they're tough now. But I do think that makes for a good matchup, man. And like I said, they're going to come in, they're going to give it all they got. We're going to give it all we got. And, you know, hopefully we'll be the ones that stand in this year and win that district title. So I've got Sinton at number 2. And, of course, I've got my Rockport-Fulton Pirates at number 1. The next team that we'll talk about, Rio Hondo. Coach, I'll go to you first. What do you got on Rio Hondo?
Hey, can I divert? Can I let one of the other guys go first?
Yeah, Johnny, you want to go first on Rio Hondo?
Dude, you can't go on. They didn't play not one game last year.
Yeah.
So you can't. I don't know where to go with them, really.
Hey, that's why I passed it, Johnny.
I really don't. But you know what? They got a little in previous past. They've had some good seasons back in the days too. In previous years. I think Rio Hondo and Port Isabel will be a great game. I think that would be a great game. Again, Port Isabel didn't have the great season last year either. So other than that one playoff game with Raymondville, well, not a playoff game. Well, either way, but
yeah,
I'm gonna go Rio Hondo. I'm going all out. I'll go Rio Hondo at the number 5 spot. I'm putting them in front of Port Isabel.
All right. Tony, what do you got on Rio Hondo?
So, you know, it's obvious, you know, Rio Hondo didn't have a season last year. But Rio Hondo, you know, they've had to play Raymondville the past few years. They're in the same district with a tough team. You know, anytime you're in a district with a tough team, you're a tough team because you always try to beat that team. So I mean, they're a playoff team. They've been in the playoffs many times. You know what I mean? They're a playoff team for sure. You know, can they beat Port Isabel? I think I mean, Port Isabel didn't have a season last year either, but I think they can. You know, and I'm with Johnny. I think Raymond Rio Hondo's the 5 spot. But you know, it'll be between Port Isabel and Rio Hondo for that spot. But again, you know, I wouldn't sleep on that team because you know they're a playoff team and they've had to play Raymondville. You know, just like Rockport had to play Sinton, they had to play each other. It makes each other better when you have good competition. So you know, you can't sleep on Rio Hondo. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do this season.
Coach, thoughts on?
Well, I tell you what, man, you know, unfortunately, you know, someone's has to finish last. And, you know, I didn't want to come out and be the first one to go out there and start kicking on them. But yeah, no, for me, they're bringing up the rear. You know, I had Port Isabel at 5 and I had Rio Hondo at 6.
I'll tell you guys.
Somebody's got to be there.
Well, I didn't even mark if they were 56. I just marked out because I don't have them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I will say this about Rio Hondo. It was hard for me because I didn't see him last year. This was, I believe, a couple of years ago, division. They were in D1, Division 1. When Rockport was in Division 1, you know, we were playing Somerset. I think we were playing Rio Hondo. They've always come to, a couple of years I saw Rockport when we were in Division 1 play against them. They came with speed. I remember one year they were the top ranked team and we went to Rio Hondo. We beat them one year here. And then we went the very next year. I think we were the 3rd place team or the 4th place team, I think. And we went down there to the Valley and we beat them. They were really shocked when Rockport beat them, you know. And so even though they've come with speed, you know, Rockport's kind of had their number the last couple of years. And we don't know exactly what they have this year. If what I'm saying memory serves correctly, I am getting a little up there in age, but I think I'm telling you the truth. But I don't think this team is going to be able to make the playoffs. One, Steve talked about how a team, you know, hadn't played. And I think that does play a big effect when you don't play one year and you're coming back. And then they're going into a district now where they've got Sinton, they've got Rockport, they got an up-and-coming Ingleside team, they got a Raymondville team. It's going to be really hard for Raymondville. Unless they have something down there that none of us know about, it's going to be very tough for this team to make the playoffs, I think. And we'll continue to talk about them as we see them in the preseason. Things may change once we start seeing them, but as of right now, I have them out. I don't have them making the playoffs. And that's all I really got to say about that. We'll go to the next team. We'll talk Ingleside. Coach, I'll go to you first. What's your thoughts on the Ingleside Mustangs?
Hey, I tell you what, man, I've been watching Ingleside, right? And what I'm super impressed about is their weightlifting program. That coach got them boys pumping the iron. These guys are super strong. They're building something over there. I really like Ingleside's chances. I think they're, like I said, they're working towards something. You know, I don't know if there was a change in their weight program or what, but something got these boys fired up and they putting on some weight and to go along with that skill that they got. I like Ingleside. I got Ingleside at 3.
Ooh, Z-Man?
Yeah.
He said it.
Ingleside could be the shocker. You know, they could be the shocker of the district. All it takes is for them to beat one of the top 2 teams, and this district can come out to a 3-way tie.
It almost happened 2-3 years ago. That almost happened. So
they're the team that could do it. I'm not saying that they can't. You know, anytime, anything could happen any night. So, like I said, all it takes is them to beat one of the top 2 teams. The other team, one of the 2 top teams, beat the other one, and we have a 3-way tie. everybody one loss, so it
Yeah.
can happen.
And that would
but I'm
happen.
gonna
And that
go
would
with-
happen.
I'm gonna go with
Right.
Ingleside number 3, very strongly on number 3.
Oh, wow. Johnny
Yeah.
and Coach are going 3. Big T, where you going with the Ingleside? Where do you have them at?
Yeah. I just want to comment on what Johnny was saying. I think that happened 3 years ago. Sinton beat us and we beat Ingleside and Ingleside beat Sinton, something like that. Something happened like that. And we ended up taking district because of the way that happened. That happened a few years ago. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years ago, but I remember that happened. But one of the things that I like about Sinton, Ingleside, I'm sorry, is they had a younger team last year too. I mean, they graduate some talent, but they had a young team too. My son was on JV last year, and I saw that JV play, and we brought some guys down from the varsity to play on that game, and man, they tore them up, and they tore Rockport up. I don't think Rockport didn't score. I say that. So they got some underclassmen coming up. Rockport did not score. I think they put 30 points on the board against them. And they got some underclassmen coming up, and they are strong. Like Steve said, there's some strong boys. They're not super big. I mean, they had a big boy last year, and I think that's the guy you interviewed, Gabriel, a few weeks ago. They're not humongous, but they're super strong. You know what I mean?
Super strong.
They're not going to be number 1 or number 2, but anything could happen. But I too have them at number 3 over Rio Hondo. Raymondville. Sorry,
Raymondville.
All right, let me set it straight on the podcast here. I like Ingleside. Coach, we actually interviewed Coach Hamrick last year on the gridiron, and I was really impressed. He's been there for a while now. He's been a couple of years. His program is getting up, and they're getting better every year. Last year, you really saw them excel a lot better, getting into the playoffs. They had some big wins. So they're getting better. But I think they're in a very tough district. I still think Sinton and Rockport are still, the programs are still ahead as of this year. But here's the thing: the injuries play a factor. Somebody goes down, and all of a sudden, the Ingleside take that spot. Sinton can have a player or two out. Rockport, this team then becomes very good to beat them. So you can't sleep on Ingleside. I think their program. Coach is talking about their weight program. That's where it starts. And this is a very dangerous team. You better come to play when you play Ingleside, because they're coming to play. We've seen them the last couple of years. They played Rockport tough, man. Rockport beats them, but you see the first and second quarter, they play us tough.
Yeah.
We're not running over this team like we used to. So they're up and coming. You got to be very careful. So I would definitely say and agree with Johnny and you guys. They're a sleeper, man. I've got them at number 4 behind Rockport, Sinton, and Raymondville. But it would not surprise me if they become the number 3, if something is to happen to Raymondville. And here's the deal: injuries to either one of these 3 teams that are ahead of them, all of a sudden this becomes a really scary team. So watch out for Ingleside, because they're coming, and you can't take them lightly. I think there's going to be a really good competitive team this year.
When do we play Ingleside? Like where in the season?
I got to pull it up right here.
Tony will look it up, but yeah, I've got them, at number 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 4th district game. We play them October 15th.
Yeah,
the 4th district game.
Yeah, that's going to be tough, man. They're going to be, a team like that, somebody that has the talent and the strength and the skill. You know what I'm saying? You hope to catch them early in the season, right? So we'll see. I think that's going to be a really tough game. I'm excited to see that Mustang on fire.
Yeah, that's going to be good. But again, I got them at number 4. My crew's got them at number 3. We shall see. Next team, we'll talk about the West Oso Bears. T, I'll go to you, because that's your old alma mater. What do you got to say about those West Oso Bears this upcoming year, Tony?
I have a little cousin over there. It's his senior year, and I hope West Oso has a good season. I don't think West Oso is going to make the playoffs. It pains me to say that. But I will say when I did play at West Oso, we did beat Sinton. We were the team to beat back then in that district. But yeah, I put West Oso probably they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't even want to say what number I put them at. They're going to beat Robstown. I can tell you, they're going to beat Robstown. But and I think Robstown beat them last year. If I remember, I think Robstown did beat them last year. But I hope they have a good season. But I don't see them making the playoffs. Good luck to my little cousin.
Johnny?
Also.
Be nice.
I'm actually gonna be nice. I like what I saw last year in our passing. I'm not gonna put them dead last. I will put them at the number 7 spot in front of Robstown. I think that's what I'm going to go with. It's hard to say these because we don't know anything about the Valley teams. It's like I say Ravenville number 4, but man, what if this Real Hondo is somebody? I just looked up that I had mentioned about a certain player that's been their all offense player. He did graduate last year. He was basically the leading rusher of the team. He was the backup quarterback that threw out passes, and he was also the leading receiver of the team. Also had the most kickoff return touchdowns, the punt return specialist. So he was basically a one-man team, and he did graduate last year. So it makes me kind of wonder, does Raymondville have anybody else? They basically relied on this one person, So, but I will go with West Oso at number 7. As season goes on, if these Real Hondo and Rainbow don't do too good, I might boost up that West Oso a little higher.
Yeah, and we can do that every week that we come on before district starts. These are your picks. It's being recorded, right? So every week 1, after you see the games and we come back on, if you think you want to change it, we have the option to change it. But once district starts, then that's where it stays, right? But we're gonna be doing, but you have the option to change. You'll have 3 or 4 weeks to change before the district starts, and that'll give us a better understanding once we see these teams. But this was just kind of something just to kind of get your thoughts before the season ends. But we can make the changes during the preseason. Once district starts, that's where it stays. Coach, I'll go to you. Where do you have West Oso?
Hey, so I mean, just by the numbers, you kind of figure out. So I'm gonna do this one for my boy Tony, and I'm gonna put him in the playoffs. What do you say? First, hey, you said it doesn't count, right? So it's just we're gonna throw something at the window, see if it sticks. All right. So you go call your primo. You go call your primo, and you let him know, hey, cuz I'm sorry I didn't pick you guys to make the playoffs, but we had one guy pick them. All right, so hey, I'm gonna throw it at the window, see if it sticks. West Oso number 4.
All 9.9 points per game from last year. Hell yeah!
That's it, baby.
Hey, let me tell you what
3 yards in a cloud of dust, baby.
Let me tell you what the issue is. The last few years, their strength of schedule going into the very tough district that they're in has been pretty weak. I mean, Taft. Even though Odom's doing good in 3A, Rockport's playing 5A schools, what I mean, to get ready for district play, and they're playing 3A schools, you know what I mean? I just don't think that their strength of schedule prepares them, and even Ingleside playing Toloso Midway last year, in the preseason. Just I think that needs to change, and it seems like they always play Taft and Odom in the preseason, and I think they need to change that. I don't know what the deal is there, but to compete in the district that they're in, they really, really need to try to play some tougher teams to get ready for the district that they're in. You know, without changing that, you know, it's going to be tough to compete. It really is. So I just wanted to add that on there.
The only thing I'll say about Westoso, I saw some of their games. They were competitive. They got it. This is their second. They got a new coach. Last year was his first year. This is his second year, so he'll be better. I don't think Westoso is going to make the playoffs, but they're going to surprise us with some wins. They're going to surprise us with some wins, I think, in the preseason, and they're going to be a lot better than what we think they are in district. Probably not going to be able to compete with the top, the top 3 teams or in this, or the top 4 teams in this district. But I think they're going to come and they're going to be more competitive this year. And I think that they're actually going to be surprising some people in the district, and they're going to win some games that we think they won't be able to. So I look for them to be a lot better this year than last year. I saw I saw they couldn't finish 4 quarters, but they played tough, and I saw some good things from them. With this coach coming back for his second year and now having a full season, you got to remember he came in last year and then COVID hit. There was a lot of things he couldn't do with this program. He just had to go on the fly and just do whatever. So there was a lot of things these guys did what they were new. Now he's had a whole off season this summer to really get kids to understand. Westoso always has talent. They always have speed over there. They always have talent. It's not like they don't have talent. So let's see what this second-year coach can do with the full off season under his belt and coming back for his second year. I think they're going to be better. I don't think they'll be able to make the playoffs this year, but I think they're going to be competitive and they're going to win some games that we don't think ordinarily they're going to win.
Hey, I think we need to throw in some special rules, okay? If you pick somebody out of the playoffs for everybody else, I think I should get more points if Westoso turns out to be a good team. I deserve more points for that.
I'll tell you what. How many? Okay, I'll tell you this. How many more points do you want? I'll give it to you. But yeah, listen. You don't know, injuries happen, right? I think they're in a tough district, but listen, they're going to be more competitive. This coach has got a second year. He came in last year. I was kind of following them on Twitter, and COVID really did a lot of things to this coach. Now he's got a full season. They've got some talent out there. I don't think they can be sitting in Rockport or Raymondville. We don't know where Raymondville is, but Port Isabel, Ingleside, I don't know. I mean, an injury here or there, you don't know what Westoso. So listen, a couple of years ago, this team was in the 3rd round with Rockport, and I saw what they did. They took on a state champion in Cuero in the 3rd round.
Hey, there's no more room on this boat, okay? There's no more room. There's only a 1-seater right here. Tony had his opportunity to ride shotgun. He didn't want to do it. There's no more room on this boat.
Yeah. So hey, listen, Steve, you might not be so far off from a pick there, Coach. You might be onto something. We shall see. But I don't have them in the playoffs. Next team, Robstown. Right. Coach, I'll let you take that one.
Hey, Robstown. I've always enjoyed playing against Robstown. They're that cousin that comes over to the barbecues and they're just glutton for punishment, and they'll take it. And they'll take it and they'll take it and they'll take it and give it back and give it back. Robstown's always been a scrappy team. I mean, way back when Chino was playing, I used to enjoy going out there and watching them play. And so that's where, my relationship with Robstown started right there, watching them play Chino, and they play them so tough. And then on to softball, watching them. It's kind of like one of those teams, regardless of what their record is, they always play tough. They're really scrappy. But somebody's got to be at the very end. So that's where I got Robstown. Sorry.
Tony?
I wanna say something about Robstown. Like you said, he liked Chino playing. He liked to see Chino play them back in the days. I'll tell you what, same thing in youth football. When we played Robstown, they were tough. Boys, they were hitting our boys. They were hitting them. Yeah. We won. I mean, we won, but that was a tough team to beat. You know what I mean? They came ready to fight. And talking to my son and talking about what he thinks about Robstown, say, man, they hit hard over there. You don't say that about a lot of boys. I mean, you don't have. I mean, you're able to say that because you mean it. And kind of like Ric and Rob said earlier, about Taft. And I will say the same thing about Taft. I didn't play Robstown in high school, but I did play Taft. And when I played Taft, They were 0-10 the 4 years I was in high school. But when we played Taft, them boys came hitting. They hit
Yeah.
hard. I remember playing Taft. They hit hard.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing like Robson. They're a scrappy team, like Steve said. That I don't even know if they come and try to win a game. They just want to come out and hit. You know what I mean? They just want to hit. You know, and I hope that you know, something does happen for Robstown, you know, because I hate saying that about anything, about any team, because I know practice is not easy. We talk about the blood, sweat, and practice that these boys do on 2-a-days and coming in every day to practice, showing up, even though you know you're not going to win. It's tough, and it's tough. You know, I hope something happens for them. I really do. I got them picked last as well, but I hope something happens over there in Robstown because, you know, as a former player, you know, it's tough to go to practice every day and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel to get a win. And I hope something happens for them. But I do got them picked last.
Johnny?
We're talking about baseball or football?
Hey, I changed my pick.
I'm gonna have to go with Ralph Dunn at the very bottom. I don't see them beat anybody up above them. As far as in the district, last year they ended up the season not playing their last 2 games because of COVID. That was a terrible way to end their season, especially for any of those seniors. But only scoring an average of 5 points a game and giving up 32 points a game. I got to see a bigger turnaround on that this year, but I'm going to go with them dead last.
This is what I'm going to say about them. There's nothing else to be said. Next up,
You're a piece of shit.
Port Isabel. And before I go to you guys, this is what I'll say about Port Isabel. We had the Walker twins up here. We talked about Port Isabel a lot in the first part, you know, and that was a long time ago in the 90s, but they have always had a good program. So we don't know what they did last year. I don't have them making the playoffs, but I don't know much about them. History tells me that this is a team. They got a winning tradition, and they find a way to play hard every game. They have a rich tradition out there in Port Elizabeth. They take a lot of pride in putting their players on the field and winning games. So even though I don't have them making the playoffs because I don't know much about them, this is a team that I am really looking forward to following during the preseason because I want to see, because it's just the rich tradition of winning all the time. Will this team come out this year in 2021 and surprise people? I don't know, but I don't have them making the playoffs. Coach, I'll go to you first. What do you have Port Isabel at?
Yeah, not much. I mean, I got them finishing behind Raymondville, Rio Hondo. You know what I'm saying? So my numbering's off now. So, yeah, no, I got them finishing back behind Rio Hondo.
Johnny?
I got them at the number 6 spot.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to go by anything because they didn't have a season last year. You know, just that one game against Raymondville, and that's it. They've always had a winning tradition down there, so I wouldn't be shocked if they bounce in there in the 4th spot. You know, but for right now, I'm going in number 6 with them.
Damn it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Tony?
Well, I will say that after hearing the stories from the 90s, you know, that puts those guys that played having sons in high school right now. You know what I mean? And they're probably talking about the last time that they beat Rockport in the playoffs, you know.
Yeah.
So they probably want this game because they probably didn't like winning by penetrations either. They probably wanted to win that game. You know what I mean? So, you know, now you you got some dad somewhere saying, well, boy, I don't care if we lose every game, we got to beat Rockport because it got left a bad taste in their mouth. You know what I mean? And even having said that, I still have them just barely ahead of Robstown and West Oso on the bottom. So that's what I think about Port Isabel.
we shall see. And we kind of want that concludes the teams for our district. We just kind of wanted to get up there and get something going, something we could go back on every week, guys. Starting week 1, we will ask before the podcast ends if we made the changes. I'll have a list because I'll get it from this video. But every week you'll be asked a question. If you want to change it, you can either keep it or you can change it. And I know maybe a lot of us will change it based on what we see in the preseason, week 1 and week 2. But just remember that once the district starts, wherever we end up, whatever changes, it'll stay there till the season ends. So we can still make some moves if we have to. The last thing we'll talk about on the podcast is our Rockport-Fulton Lady Pirates volleyball team. We've been talking about them. We've said last couple of podcasts that we are going to be following the girls this year. Tomorrow, I think they do have they start up a tournament in Aransas Pass. I'm going to try to find out the time. I'm going to get out there and try to stream that game if I can over in Aransas Pass. If it is streamed and I'm able to stream it, it won't be through I'm going to try to stream it through the Facebook GT Sports. If I can't get it on there, then I'll definitely go back to the Pirates Cove. But I'm going to try to stream that game and get there, stream all 3 freshmen, JV, and the varsity if I can. But if I can, at least the varsity. And I just kind of wanted to break down a little bit about yesterday's game. Yesterday here at Rockport was the first game of the 2021 season for our volleyball girls. We played London. I know Johnny was there, so he actually got to see it. I was watching it. I was on the stream. But Johnny was there. So Johnny, we did take the win 3-1. We won. We lost the first set, and then we won the last 3 sets to take the 3-1 lead. So, I didn't see the first set. I saw the second one. It was a great start for our girls to start off a win. At the beginning of the season, and then we go into a 3-day or 2-3-day tournament in Aransas Pass. We'll see how they do. But you were there, so I would ask you, what did you see? What's your thoughts? I know we got the win, but I heard you talked a little bit about we kind of a little struggle there at the beginning. So what were your thoughts on yesterday's volleyball game?
Well, actually, yesterday the first set, our girls started off strong. I mean, they took a big lead. I need to be corrected on this, but I think at one time they had like a 13-6 lead, and then before you knew it, things just fell apart for these girls. The hype was there, everything was there. Opening game, London just took over that set, like just straight through, and it just got a little sluggish after a while. But after that, man, that's number 2, number 3, number 4. I mean, all those other sets, man, these girls just got better as the game went on. London didn't have a chance on their last set, really. These girls showed fight. I mean, they started off strong. They got a little sluggish, and then they just continued to, they just finished off strong. I mean, that's one thing I noticed about these girls. You don't really have an outstanding athlete on the team. They just work all together. I mean, I think that helped out at the end.
Okay, but I like that, I mean, I like the fact that, that there's no standout star on the team. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that just oozes team, that just oozes the team. So, for me, I mean, I think back to what Coach Jeffrey was talking about and how his girls were, right on the doorstep of winning so many games, playing, 1.5 matches, good, and maybe the girls, I could see Coach Jeffrey getting them in that huddle after that first loss and being like, hey, look, this is where we were last year, y'all right there on the step, now what are you going to do to change it? So I mean, like I told Coach Jeffrey, I'm gonna make some games out there, and I will. I'm super excited now about it. Like I talked to Coach Jeffrey, he really gets you excited about it. With his emotions. So and when y'all were talking about it yesterday, his words were just ringing in my ear, thinking like, hey, okay, we dropped the set. Now what are you gonna do? So, for them to rally around. And then, as far as like no standout stars, man, those are some of the best teams I've ever had when, girls just, played for one another, knew their job, knew their roles, and went in there and did it. So, kudos for them, for getting up off the floor and finishing with the win. So great job.
Tony?
Tony's on mute.
Sorry about that. Well, what I was saying is that, we didn't really follow volleyball that much last year. I didn't watch the game. I was getting prepared for the podcast yesterday. But one of the things that we talked about with Coach Seibert is just the success that the Rockport Athletics has been having, and what I will say is, sound like the girls had a pretty good game yesterday. They did come up with the win. They won all their sets, right? Is that right?
They lost
Yeah,
the
no.
first one.
They lost the first one. Okay. But they win because they played 3, right? Something like that.
Right.
Okay. So anyways, what I will say is, I do feel like we, same thing like the football team, we got people coming back on the volleyball. I do know that they got some young players coming back, and so I'm just excited to see what the volleyball does, because the athletic program all the way around has been doing so well at Rockport, and I just look forward to seeing the kind of season that they're going to have. And I'm with Steve. I do want to try to make some of the game. I do want to learn a little bit more about volleyball. I played volleyball before, but I don't know the rules. Make it over the net. But I do want to make some games, and I want to understand the game, and I know it's just like football. Them girls are going out there, they're showing up early. I know they got early practices, they got afternoon practices, just like football, and they're putting in work. And it's just a testament to Rockport Athletics, and it shows, and I hope it pays off for them in the end, and we'll be rooting for y'all.
I'll tell you what, right now in this podcast, as we're recording, I'm going to go on the record and say the Rockport-Fulton Lady Pirates are going to win district. I know it's the first game, but we've had Coach Jeffries on, and he's talked about it's his second year, his first year. He made the playoffs first year. He said, I didn't really get to coach the girls like I wanted to, and then he had to deal with COVID. To make the second round of the playoffs his first year, he's got some really good assistants in Coach Robbins and then Coach Clark. I mean, she ran this program for years. To be able to have her out with the freshmen, this is big. His assistants have experience, and they've been doing really good. We heard him talk about Coach Robbins and just what she's done the last 7 or 8 years. When I watched this game yesterday, I saw a lot of good things, and he talked about the setters that he has. You have Peyton Martinez back there. You have Jessica Scheibe back there playing, and these girls were playing really good in game one. And up in the front, you got this, I think Kylie or Kaylee Skinner. You have Katie Howe. I saw Katie Howe play big. We've got 2 big girls right up in the front. They can block and play the net. I saw Elena out there making some big plays. This team is good. It doesn't have an outstanding 1 or 2 punch, but it's got a lot of players. And we heard Coach Jeffries talk about all these girls coming back from last year's playoff team, and how excited he was. And it showed in game one. Losing that first set, then you're all of a sudden kind of, okay, how are they going to respond? Well, they responded with three. They won 3 sets in a row, and it wasn't really close. I mean, they were pulling away, middle or toward the end. I think this team is going to get better from what I saw as the games go. I think Coach Jeffrey is going to be a really good coach. He understands the game. Steve talked about, what he's good at. He's been playing volleyball. He understands the game, and his assistants and how they're going to be able to help. So I think this team's going to get better. And I'm going on the record to say Rockport-Fulton Pirates aren't going to go undefeated. I think that's a little stretch there, but I do believe that the Lady Pirates will win district, and they're going to make a big push into the playoffs. I just hope that they stay healthy, because that's what it's going to take to go. But I'm definitely going on the record saying this team will be district champs when it's all said and done. Also, our JV also won with Coach His. We talked about how good she is as a coach, and they ended up winning their set 2-0. So they beat London. So they start off good. I'm not sure exactly where our freshman team ended, except that I was told that they lost their first game. So, Coach Clark is there. She's got a lot of experience. I'm sure she's going to be able to get it right. And the freshman team, is going to be able to turn it around. It's just the first game. Of course, they come in from junior high and they're young. So, but the JV and the varsity doing really good. So I think all three of these teams are going to be good. It's going to be very exciting, guys, to watch our volleyball team, and we hope to bring in Coach Robbins from the JV here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And hopefully she can, come in with us to talk a little bit about the JV. We know what the varsity is doing, but we need to get with the JV and hopefully Coach, talk to us about what they're doing and some of the players that we will have on that JV this year and what we have coming forward in the next year or two. So volleyball is going to be really good, guys. I know it went a little bit longer than what we had anticipated. We never go this long, but I did want to, and we won't probably go this long ever again, but I did want to get the Walker boys in there, go to the Alumni, and then I really wanted to get this going. So I really appreciate you guys spending the evening with me talking about this stuff. It's going to be great. We're going to actually upload this video tomorrow afternoon at 3. I mean, it may be a little earlier than that, depending, because whatever time the girls play the tournament, I want to go down there and catch all 3 games. So it may be a little early or it may be later, depending, but it will definitely be uploaded to our YouTube channel, GT Sports. Again, GT Sports on our YouTube channel is where you can catch the podcast, and then we go ahead and share it over to our Pirates Cove Twitter and Facebook page. So it's going to be exciting, guys. And then, of course, we've got the scrimmage up Friday, our first scrimmage of football of 2021. So it's going to be exciting to see what we're going to do there. So we're busy. And again, I thank you guys for spending the evening, because you spent the evening with me instead of your families, man. So I really appreciate that. Before we go, Steve, I do got a question for you. Yesterday, we did have softball, and there was a question from the community, and I completely forgot to ask Steve on that podcast. And so I want to make sure that when I get a question, I do ask the question. So Steve was our guest yesterday. So Steve, I'm going to go ahead and read out the question to you. I know it should have been done yesterday, but I'd like to get it on and ask you today. So let me get that question.
All right.
So the question, Coach, is, during your run all through regular Little League season and district and sectionals, did you have the support of your families? Were there any parents who went above and beyond to help with all things, behind the scenes, etc.? If you could give a shout out to anyone, who would it be and why?
Well, I tell you what, I mean, the one thing I've always told Chino is, you win over the parents, you'll win over the child. So it's super important to me that all the parents of all the athletes on the team are involved and informed. That's the biggest thing, keeping everybody informed and on board and understanding everything. So that, to me, that's always been first. So that's one of my golden rules. You got to always sell the parent. But just like any organization or anything you put together, you do have those ones that you could always go and lean on. It most definitely had. I've had my share for sure, throughout the years. But this year, without a doubt, there's a couple of women, along with men too, because I throw my assistant coaches into that same category, without those coaches being there and helping me out all the way. So without a doubt, Stephen Dykes, my assistant coaches, played a big role in our success, along with Coach Chino. Parent wise, Blanca Dykes was awesome. Tiffany Wood, those two, I know I can always turn to, ask them, hey, can you do this? Can you line this up? Can you schedule this for me? So without a doubt, those two played a big part in the success of our team. they did a lot of fundraising, planning, a lot of organizing and stuff like that. So yeah, big shout outs to Blanca Dykes, Bianca, like she likes to be called, Bianca, Blanca Dykes, and Miss Tiffany Wood. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, I forgot that was a question that should have been asked yesterday, and I completely forgot to text Steve last night. And I said, I'll ask you on today's podcast. So guys, thank you very much. Before I give you the last word, I just want to say next week on Tuesday, we will be having, we'll be talking softball. We have 3 of our RF Lady Pirates softball graduates that will be moving on to the next level. We will have Maddie Mann, Sierra Galvan, and Lydia Zavala. They will be coming on next Tuesday at 7. We'll get our questions ready for them. All 3 of them will be playing softball at the next level. We had the 4th one, Mikey Dominguez, on the other day. She'll be also going as well. So I'm really excited about talking to these girls about what they, because they'll be leaving Rockport here within the next week or so to head on. So it's a different experience for them. I know all 3 of these girls have a great support system. And here at the 365, it's not going to be the Pirates Cove Crew, but 365, we're going to continue to follow them and talk about them on our podcast and wish them nothing the best. But they'll be on next Tuesday. So for the community, if you have any questions for Lydia, Sierra, or Maddie, send it over to gtsports64@hotmail.com. I'll get it printed out, and then of course we will ask the ladies questions. They'll be back the next week. We'll have them, and the podcast will start at 7. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Then the next day, Wednesday, we'll be talking volleyball. We do have Kaylee Howe that will be here next Wednesday. She will be on the podcast. It's the first time that Kaylee will be on the podcast, and we are going to have another one. We sent out an invite. I have not yet heard back from the parent, but we do plan to have Kaylee and another teammate come in. Once I do get the confirmation, we'll be putting it up on our pages. So next Tuesday, softball with the 3 ladies, Lydia, Maddie, Sierra, and then on Wednesday, we'll be talking volleyball. Kaylee Howe has confirmed, and we are still waiting on the other confirmation. So it's going to be good next week as well, guys. So thank you very much. Before I let you go, if you guys got anything to say, final word, I'm turning it over to you. Johnny?
No, nothing here.
Coach?
Hey, it's been a long one. This was a good run. It builds stamina. You know what I'm saying? Did hurt my posture, but hey, no, great job, man. And I don't know, maybe we could. Can you break this down into 2?
I can try.
Right? 2 episodes.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do it. We ain't gonna go this long no more. My back is killing me right now, but no. Now we try something. Yeah, next time when we do the alumni, we would do it like that. It was a great show, but it was
yeah, no, it was. I think it was.
So yeah,
it really
absolutely. Next time we'll definitely break it down to 2. It won't go. The first one goes an hour 15. This is way too long. Tony.
I just want to say, man, it was a good show. I really liked hearing those stories from the twins, the Walker twins. It was great to hear those things, and I hope that if the boys are watching, they listen to the alumni. You know what I mean? Because it's something that I tried telling these boys when they were younger, and I tried telling my boy right now. Man, these are the memories you're always going to remember. Not everyone gets a chance to play college ball. So you got to leave it all out on that high school field, man, because you'll remember it forever, and those brothers you fought with on the field and fought for on the field are memories you'll never forget. So I really enjoyed today, I want to thank the guys again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you. A big shout out and a big thanks to Ricky and Robbie Walker for coming out and sharing some of their stories. We're going to continue to have more alumni on this podcast as we continue to move forward. Thank you, Steve, Tony, and Johnny for spending time. I know it was a long night, man. You guys had other things to do, but I appreciate your time. And like I said, we'll see you guys back on Friday over at the scrimmage. Is everybody going to the scrimmage?
I'll be there.
All right, guys, we'll see you there. So if there's nothing else, man, have a great night, guys. The only thing I'll add before we go is that the podcast from Tuesday will also be uploaded to our GT Sports YouTube channel and then shared over to the Pirates Cove Facebook and Twitter page. So both podcasts from tonight and Tuesday will be uploaded and ready for view sometime tomorrow. So until then, guys, have a great night. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys on Friday.
Bye-bye. All right.